Here we are, another Saturday night live, June the 13th, lucky 13, 2020. And what an awesome day it is. It's a little cool up here. Went for first jiu-jitsu class outside because the place is still closed.
After 3 months? Oh, yeah, it's closed.
Yeah, so it was interesting. Oh man, what a beautiful life we have.
Is it better inside or outside?
Well, outside when you roll around, it's a little tougher on the hard soil instead of mats. But it could be anywhere that you got to fall. So you got to be ready.
So how do you social distance if you're doing jiu-jitsu?
Yeah, ours was 6 nanometers.
Yeah.
You went to a jiu-jitsu class?
Yeah, I've been doing jiu-jitsu for a while, for a few years, twice a week. But it was closed down for a few months now, right? Yeah, they closed everything down. We are bad boys. We know better. So you can't go play jiu-jitsu. You can't go eat at restaurants. You can't do this. You can't do that. All this crap. It's interesting how people just obey, and because they believe in all the caca that's we've been fed, right? They believe in everything that's being said. That to not get a disease, gotta stay away. And once we have the vaccines, they'll be running up and lining up for them, because that's how these people will think that it'll save them, right? It's very distinct from the truth. We know what health is all about. Boy, do we know. You got to work at it every freaking day. Every day you got to put effort to be in a healthy, balanced state. Once you start backing off, then it gets easier and easier to back off, just like anything else. Cheers. This is some lovely kidney tea base kombucha.
Grape juice.
Just a little bit of grape juice Ryan has been making. It's really nice. Instead of using traditionally, what do they use? The black tea or the matcha tea or something. Yeah, we use the spent herbs from when we make the tea. But we use I don't know if you guys seen the video how we make a tea. It's more herbs and water, and then we reboil it for a week, and just add a little bit of water, and then make a fresh batch, and then the spent ones you boil it up again, and you make feed your kombucha fungus mushroom. It's a nice drink. It tastes nice, but is it going to save your health? I don't know about that. I drank it for a while. I didn't see much change in myself. There's people who claim all kinds of things from ferments. I don't see that. What I do see is if somebody's really loaded up, really backed up, really obstructed, and you put ferments through them, you'll start seeing some changes. That's what you're going to see. So those are registered as improvements. And I guess there may be some improvement because when people are so backed up, anything that helps move things out, you're going to get an improvement. And that's what we focus on, right? The art of subtraction. But what are people doing with kombucha, or the other one is what, kefir? I did that too.
dairy free, right?
Yeah, there's the milk-based kefir and then
Water.
dairy-free based kefir. So you can, you know, I don't think I have any more of those kefir beads. I think I got rid of them a long time ago. But the mushroom, I've had it here for years. Just start it up again, and away you go. So you can't kill a thing. It's very resilient. Most funguses are very resilient.
Some of the longest lived organisms on the planet, aren't they?
See that again?
I say there's some of the longest lived organisms on the planet, are they not? Funguses?
Probably.
Longest lived and largest in size, from what I heard.
Wasn't there a big one? Yeah, yeah.
They're a
Yes.
mile square. They can be a mile square.
Yeah, underneath the ground. They
Yeah.
probably cover most of the planet, except maybe deserts, too dry. But what's a desert? Desert's an interesting place on our planet. Something's going on there, and the Earth is producing a fever. Nothing really, not much really grows. So I don't know. I don't think we fully understand what a desert is, but
The dates grow.
yeah, dates grow in the desert. Prickly pears can grow in desert. There's a few things that can grow. Aloe's an interesting plant. It's kind of a breatharian plant. Doesn't need much water. I remember in Venezuela, a friend had this aloe plant that they weren't watering for many months, and it was kind of shriveled up a little bit. Gave it some water, and the thing came to life like no tomorrow. So, also, what is it? Is it the vanilla plant? No, vanilla is or the orchids. The vanilla. So one of them is they're like breatharian plants. They live off other plants. They don't really have a root structure in the ground. I got to look it up again. We got a lot of very interesting things that we can learn from just plants, just the plant kingdom. There's millions and millions of varieties of plants. And I am sure creation continues to create new species. I don't think it ever stops. Just like in the animal kingdom, probably in the insects and everything else.
No insects.
No insects?
Not here.
What do you mean? You don't have any insects?
No.
All gone?
Pretty much.
Wow.
No moths for years. You know, the moths, especially the ones that go on the cabbages. None this year at all. I haven't seen one yet.
I remember growing up, our backyard was a pretty big yard, about 150 feet by, how wide was it? 50 or 75 feet wide. And there was like a ditch area on one side, and tall grasses and wild flowers and wild plants. And it used to be loaded with life when we were kids. Just loaded. Yeah, you don't see that anymore. Like butterflies, caterpillars, grasshoppers, et cetera, praying mantis, all kinds of life. It was just loaded. It was like going in a jungle. You know, we were little going in this tall grass. But it's very interesting.
Hey, Gino,
Yeah.
you mentioned prickly pear.
Mm-hmm.
When I was growing up in New Jersey, I grew up in New Jersey, and there's a place called Sandy Hook. It's a sand spit. You might have heard of it. Not the place where the tragedy occurred.
Right.
Is that in Connecticut, Steve?
Yes, it is.
Yeah. There was that tragic thing, but no, Sandy Hook is on the ocean. And when I was growing up, they had prickly pear candy. So it grew on Sandy Hook because you figure like cacti wouldn't grow in essentially New England, but they grow on Sandy Hook, and they would make candy and sell it in these little boxes when I was a kid. So we would have prickly pear candy.
Interesting. Did they make the candy from the whole fruit with the seeds?
The fruit, well, I don't know exactly how they made it, but they were kind of like jellies. Like they probably boiled it down like jam, and then it would be like gelatinous. So I don't know if they added pectin to it or what, but they were like cut little squares. So it would be like a slab, and then they would cut them in little squares and sell them in these little cute little white boxes.
Yeah, because they're mostly seeds, right? The cactus pear, prickly pear, whatever.
Yeah, they were kind of crunchy. They were good.
Yeah, yeah, it's interesting fruit. I know if you pig out on them, they will back you up because there's so many seeds. You gotta be careful.
Yeah, well, we probably ate them by the box. I can't exactly remember how they were distributed.
Oh man, it was in Italy. You know, driving around, you see them on the sides of the roads and stuff. We stopped, went to pick them, and the thorns. Oh man, it was horrible because you can't see them. They're very, very fine, and
Yeah.
you get them out, man. Oh, like you're trying to be careful in them, but you got to wear some protective gloves to pick those things and wash them off. You got to be very careful. Like it's nasty when they're inside. I remember a couple of them. They start getting like an infection because there's something there. You really can't see it, so you just squeeze them. They would just pop out. But yeah, it's a nice fruit, very nice fruit. But you got to be careful. You don't need too many of them. Like in Italy, they're all over the place, growing wild.
Yeah, it's more, I would say, Mediterranean fruit than desert fruit. Desert fruit.
Yeah, but it's a very hot climate they grow too. The actual cactus plant of the cactus pear, you can use that for many things. What was one guy? I think he was showing making a poultice for teeth aches. I think was from the cactus plant, and you can put it in smoothies and stuff.
Like the green part?
Yeah, the green part.
Not the fruit.
Yeah. Well, everything's everything that grows, any kind of plant,
Even the fruit has.
can be used medicinally. All the toxic plants, all the poisonous plants. You just got to know what to do with it. You just have to connect with the spirit of the plant, and it'll teach you and how it can help you. It's that simple. So the toxic and poisonous plants are the most powerful if you know how to use them. Like hellebore up here is a very powerful plant that we used to have readily available 30 years ago, and then they made it. They banned it, and it's only available through licensed herbalists and naturopaths for certain reasons. It's not available to the general public anymore. But that was a very powerful herb that we would make with wine, and we'd boil it down, and you take very, very small amounts. Like the amount of herb you use is very tiny. So yeah.
What was that?
The plant?
Yeah, what was the plant's name?
Hellebore. Hellebores.
Hellebores?
Yeah. It's very good for feeding the astral body, spirit, for cognitive issues, mental issues, and many, many other things. Strong helps really purge out the stomach intestines, and so on and so forth. I did some small amounts on a dry fast. Oh man, it was powerful. Very powerful.
I was curious what your take was on fermented foods, because I noticed, you were talking about kombucha, and I noticed in the protocol it says that you could have fermented foods. at a certain time, and then there's apple cider vinegar and one of those drinks. And I know like a lot of people that are the um, practitioners that are kind of in the similar vein to you don't usually recommend fermented stuff. So
Well, hi Jenny. If you, I don't know how long you've been in the group.
I've been in it for a while, but I just started the master fast yesterday.
Yeah.
Good.
Well, the whole thing of what we um, recommend and so on and so forth about foods, this has nothing to do with using them for their nutritional properties. We are in this lifestyle to be able to sustain and maintain and master it for as a lifelong journey. So how do we do that and make it easy for us? We're going to use foods for joyful purposes, occasionally, and to keep ourselves on track. Like, I'll give you an example. I can assure you, most people will not become fruitarian, and especially if you don't have fresh, ripe fruit available. Which, if you're living in big cities, good luck in finding ripe fruit. It's a challenge sometimes to find ripe fruit. So we indulge in little things here and there, but we come to the understanding that we're looking at foods in a different way versus nutrition. We're looking at them for their obstructive or less obstructive properties only, right? I wouldn't recommend somebody eating fermented foods or fermented drinks, using them all the time. Using them occasionally, no big deal. If you're living and loving it, you're living a MFS lifestyle with there's days where you're fasting, and you're finding the balance to the point where you're not obstructing, but you're de-obstructing on a week-to-week basis. And once you've achieved that, indulging in a couple of things that are not on the top of the list is no big deal, because people are going to do it anyway. People are going to fall off, and they're going to go do it anyway. So, if you want to go have yourself a steak once a year, no big deal. If you're going to do it week by week or day by day, it's going to be a problem. I'm just giving you a different example. Are you going to feel it if you go have a steak? Yeah, you're going to feel it if you're going to. So fermented foods, not
really a steak. I mean, a steak, God knows what would happen, but maybe like a small piece of fish or whatever, once in a while, maybe it's okay. I mean, you'll have to experiment. We don't know how you will react, right?
Yeah, if you eat a lot of fermented foods, most likely you're going to have a lot of gas. And why is that?
I mean, it's there are many theories about fermented foods. From what I understand is that the good bacteria, is doing its job inside, and when the bad parasites die, then you have gas released.
We know the story.
Yeah. So.
Fermented foods, are they the best? No.
Or drinks.
But
it's the same thing.
It's okay once in a while. No big deal. If you don't want to do them, don't do them. If you can stick to mainly fruit and green leafy salads, even better.
Honestly, I mean, I don't see anything wrong with fermented vegetables. The only thing is probably the salt. It's quite tricky to make fermented vegetables without salt. You definitely do not want to eat too much salt, because you're gonna feel that. Your body's gonna hold on to water, and especially after when you have done the lifestyle for a long time, your body's so clean, and then you put the salts, you'll be very thirsty, and when you drink even the juice, your body's going to hold on to the water, and You swell, you get the edema and all that, and I mean, experiment. Maybe if you can find, you can get into making things with less salt, and yeah.
The key is choose the least obstructive foods.
Yeah.
And if you choose foods that are a little more obstructive, come to the understanding that you're responsible for how you feel, because you will learn quickly, especially once you've been working on cleaning that GI tract, the plasma vacuum tube, for a while. Your body's going to be speaking loudly on anything you put in that is away from being, further away from the fruit. So we look at fruit as one of the least obstructive things that we can consume. And then green leaves, and then we go further and further and further away from that. So if you break a long digestive vacation, a long MFS, and you go to something heavy, man, you're gonna feel it and pay the price for that. So a fermented drink, it's it's just liquid. If you're using like sauerkraut,
there's no salt here, right? There's no salt here.
Sauerkrauts and kimchis, depending on how they're made, if they're made with a lot of salt, you got to be careful. But there's ways to make them without salt. So you eat a little bit of that, no big deal.
Yeah, that makes sense. I was just curious, and I like kombucha. I like fermented veggies too, but it does have a lot of salt. So
yeah, but you can make them without salt. There's ways.
Yeah.
So you can do a search and find recipes.
Yeah, I found the kombucha is totally fine. It's made with herbs, right? All the kidney tea.
It's got the spirit of the herbs, this one, that's for sure.
And a little bit of the grape juice. So yeah, it's nice once in a while.
Well, I guess one thing about it is the caffeine and maybe the sugar. I know the sugar comes out of it, but if I have one, I'm okay. But if I have like two, then I'm like, woo!
What do you mean caffeine?
Black tea.
It usually has green tea or black tea.
Oh.
Yeah, no, we don't use that, right?
Okay.
Yeah.
We're using the spent.
I was going to ask that. So you don't need to use black tea or green tea with kombucha. You can, but you don't need to.
Who made these laws?
I don't know.
Well, that's how it is at the store. Like when you get them at the store, most of them have caffeine.
Yeah, for sure. This one, I mean, I make it very dark. When it comes out, it's very dark, because of all the herbs. So it's very strong. It's a strong tea, but it's not.
We make our kidney tea very strong.
But it's not caffeinated, right? It's not like black tea or green tea, which are very high in caffeine.
Like on the pot we have for the tea, it's about half full of herbs, of dried and frozen herbs or fresh herbs. Mm-hmm. That's how much herbs we put. The dosage of the kidney tea is 1 teaspoon per cup of water, but we're way beyond that in how much herbs we use. And because I like my teas very, very strong. I think you were asking that. I like it very, very strong. Because I only when I drink the kidney tea, I'm only drinking like a quarter cup twice a day. I don't like drinking large amounts of it. I'm after the spirit of them, not the water that we use to make it.
When you make kombucha, you just need to make sure you have, what's that big gelatinous, ugly looking?
That's the fungus.
White obi.
The mother.
Yeah.
That's the fungus.
The mother. Yeah, you have to use that, right? You can't just put like a probiotic in it, something like that, right?
No, it's a specific strain of fungus.
That's the fungus he's talking about. Right, and it's SCOBY. I guess also it has good bacteria in it, the probiotics as well, and fungus.
I look at bacteria as bacteria, and not good or bad. It's all good. It's all made by creation, and all has a purpose. There's certain ones that if they go in our body, we're not going to be too happy. But if we follow the basic principles of how creation works and use subtraction as the basis, you never have to worry about any of that stuff. Everything goes back to reset, to balance. It's programmed right in our physicality, and the soul is what will guide you to that balance. because it's the only thing that does. So subtraction, when we play with chemistry and addition, it's always a spiral out to more and more confusion and imbalance. I've been down those roads of adding. I was, a big advocate of nutrition and minerals for many years. You always come to a point where nothing happens anymore, and you're thinking, okay, well, I need to put more nutrition, and then more nutrition, and then more nutrition, and more nutrition. The soils are depleted, and blah blah blah. And now, with the new understanding, we know that that's all a bunch of crock. The universe is abundant, and the body can create anything it needs. So we're at a whole different understanding now of where most of us all came from, through the addition. You need more nutrition and so on and so forth. Like spinach you need 2 pounds of spinach, or I don't know how many, 3-4 times the amount of spinach compared to the 1950s or something. It's this statements like that have been made, and a shot of wheatgrass is more powerful than 2 pounds of spinach or something like that. This is all nonsense stuff with a new understanding. Just put your body in a state where the environment will create what it needs. And how do we do that? We do it through subtraction. We do it through clearing out all the gunk that has been preventing the physicality from making the things it needs. Every time we put something in the body, we reduce or stop the body from producing it. So if we drink water, the body stops hydrating itself. If we eat food, the body stops feeding itself. And we can break it all down in all the elements and vitamins and minerals and fats and the same thing. So as you put these things through the body, just know and understand that the body will reduce and or stop having the ability to make these things. So we want to turn it around and allow the body to remember how to make anything it needs again. And we do that through subtraction. We do that through living a lifestyle of subtraction, not doing an event and thinking everything's going to be kosher for the rest of your life. It's a lifestyle where we make choices every day to move in the direction of balance. And that's all we can do. It's very, very challenging for most of us to comprehend this new understanding, because everything out there is completely opposite of what we're talking about and what we support here and so on and so forth. So it'll take it's going to take some time through the experience to allow that understanding to come through. It's, we can talk about it and you can, watch videos about it and read about it and so on and so forth. But what we see where the understanding starts coming through is when we experience it. And that's the beautiful magic that we see over and over and over with many, many of you people living this lifestyle. The understanding starts coming through more and more and more as you live the lifestyle. And, we've seen people come and then take off and disappear for a year or two, and then they come back because the understanding was imprinted in them through their small experience that they did. And you can never let that go. We talk about, how many people have had challenges after they're doing a long digestive vacation for MFS, and they go into these cuckoo times after. So, because people are trying to get the same experience, the same feeling as when they were in the fasting state, the natural divine fasting state, when they're eating, and it's not going to happen. So they start experimenting with eating this and that and this and going, and then some people go back to stimulants, right? Because they're trying to get something through addition, which cannot be done because it can only be done through subtraction. So once you start gaining this understanding and you start experiencing it, everything starts changing. And Ed Wellville just posted again. He's been working for a while. He was from his first MFS. This was back in. He was either in late 2015 or no, yeah, maybe he came a little bit. No, he came. Yeah, anyway, he came from. He was a while. He came from near the beginning. But I remember, when he came, he was in a wheelchair for a while, and when he did his first MFS, he took his first 12 steps in a long time. And after that, he's got a condition where it's undiagnosed, which is excellent. You don't want a diagnosis because once you got a diagnosis, the pharma cartel owns you. So it's wonderful that he doesn't have diagnosis. But what do we talk about all the time? Emotion is seed. And I kept saying, Ed, we got to work on the emotional part, and then we'll solve the problem. But he's been gaining steps every year. Every year he's gaining stronger and stronger and stronger. When I spoke to him a few months back, he was at a farmer's market walking around for 20 minutes, half an hour. This is awesome. It's amazing. And, this is what happens when you put the dedication and commitment and surrender and just keep going. But it has to be done at the pace where we can handle it emotionally, because if we try and push our way through it, we're going to come crashing down. It's all the time. And the emotions are the things that we all have the biggest challenges with, and is why we keep doing these calls, because out there, who's going to support you in this lifestyle? They're all going to think we're cuckoo, right? And I've been doing it 3 decades, and family and friends still think I'm cuckoo. Nothing's changed. So we join every week here, and live calls on Wednesdays on Facebook, and we support each other. We inspire each other. The floor is open, for you guys to say what you have to say, because it's not only me. I need the support just like you guys. I'm no different. Even though I've been doing this all these years, it's only because I had the understanding that it's a lifestyle, and I never let that understanding go. Even though I fell off, gazillion times, back on track and keep going. What else was going to go back to eating? Already been there. Experts. I'm an expert at eating. Many of you are experts at eating. We've been doing it for decades. So let's work on something that is going to break paradigms, and that's what the MFS has done. It's breaking the belief systems and paradigms that we were all ingrained through our upbringing and programming, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. We keep expanding our knowledge and through the experiences of people living and loving it. And this is a beautiful thing to be part of this and watch all the miracles that we've seen. It's just awesome. And that's what keeps me going. And I stay inspired just listening to people's stories, man, oh man. So if you're not around it, most likely, most people will not stick to this lifestyle. It's just the way it is. Even sticking around it, people are falling off. So it just shows how much resistance we put ourselves through living in a society that does not adhere to this type of lifestyle. Look what's happening now. They want to inject the planet. It's just ludicrous, as if that's going to solve everybody's problems. Never has before. You think it's going to solve it now? It only causes more problems. Adding these concoctions into the bloodstream, into the body. They don't put them directly in the bloodstream, but putting these things in the body's got a nasty stuff that they put in these. If you just go do your research on the ingredients in these things, why would anybody want to put these things in the body? I don't know. If they spill a vaccine, they have to call hazmat to clean up the mess. So, but it's safe to inject. Okay, that's what they say, safe and effective. I'm not for or against vaccines. I just would never put it in my body. and I wouldn't recommend anybody else put it in the body. If somebody chooses to put that poison concoction in the body, by all means, go ahead. You got free will to do as you please, and people do, right? The flu vaccine, they've had it for how many years? Did they eradicate the flu? Nope, absolutely not. And in fact, in Italy, my friend who's up near the area that got hit hard in the northern part of Italy, they had a huge flu vaccine campaign this past fall of last year, just before the outbreak. There you go. And so let's do a study on how many people were vaccinated that contacted COVID. Probably all of them, or a big percentage of them. And this has happened if you do your research, so on and so forth. I don't want to get into vaccines, but it's just this is what's going on out there, and it's sad that this is happening, but it's all agenda based. The people that are pushing these things have their hands in every aspect of what's happening with this COVID scandemic, whatever you want to call it. People believe in the viruses, and people believe in vaccines and whatever. Viruses are just energy packets. A mask will not help you. Even the scientists are coming forward saying, "What are you wearing a mask for if you're healthy?" It's not going to do anything for you. So they're in agreement with that, but the powers that want to be are putting some enforcements for people to wear masks in some areas. It's just ludicrous. It's nonsense. The virus will the virus emits itself energetically, and that is why it's gone around the planet. It doesn't need the physicality. It's just the energy of it. And the worst part of this whole thing is the biggest virus is the fear, which is put a huge strain on a lot of people. Can you imagine how many people that are out of work, can't pay their bills, can't feed themselves, and they can't go to work because they're still in lockdown? What do you think that's going to do? Like suicide rates went up 600%. Spousal abuse, I don't know how it went up huge percentage. Depression went up skyrocket. Psychiatric drug prescription went up skyrocket. Et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. We can go on and on and on about all this stuff. At the end of the day, what are we going to do about it? We have to work on ourselves to allow the energy packets of peace, balance, and correct conduct to flow around the planet, so people can absorb that instead of the fear in the virus field. So who's ready? We got Jack's iPhone. Hi, Jack. Somebody on the phone. Barbara?
Hi, it's Dance.
Oh, hello.
I sorted out my Zoom issues that I had last week, so I'm using my phone. Simple.
Yeah, awesome.
It's good to be here.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's great to have you. You know, the more people we have, the merrier. The more we can put out that plaf energy into the fields, because right now we need it more than ever.
Definitely.
It was wonderful.
A lot of unrest happening around the world.
Oh yeah. But it was nice to see the planet get a rest and see what it can do in a short time that we gave it a rest. It's just amazing. And what did we do? We stopped, bombarding it. That's all we did. We didn't do anything to help it. It knows what to do. It has its own soul. Put it on a fast and correct itself. Same thing with ourselves. We need to take care of the earth, the soil of the earth, and it will take care of us. It's that simple. We must stop bombarding the planet and destroying it. As we move more and more into the plasma realm, we will come. There will be ways where we do not have to mine the earth anymore, because you can create any element you want, just like your body can create any element you want. So I do believe we may see it in our lives that we will be able to create any element, gold, silver, platinum, whatever you need, and do it through the fields. And we'll be able to create, any type of energy that we need to sustain ourselves without burning what they call fossil fuels. Fossil fuels have nothing to do with fossils. The earth creates these oils, these fats, these lipids through the fields, and the more you draw from the earth, the more it creates. How long ago it was in the 70s when they started talking about we're running out of oil on the planet, and what was it, from the 70s? How many years is that? We're 50 years later, and there's tons and tons and tons of oil on the planet. It's because the more you draw from it, the more it produces, just like a lactating mother. The more the baby suckles, the more the mother produces milk. This is the way it works. We've been fed a crock of crap through about this these fossil fuels. We don't need to be burning fossil fuels. There's so many other ways that we can use that are kosher with Mother Earth. That we can actually help it. Through, instead of explosion, if we use implosion, the opposite, that actually helps clean. If you look up the water wizard, Viktor Schauberger, he's got some miraculous things that he's done. He was a forest ranger somewhere in Europe. I don't remember exactly where, but he learned everything through watching nature. And he did some amazing things. Amazing. And then the US destroyed him. So he died miserable death to try and help the US at that time. This was way back in the 40s, 40s, maybe 50s. Maybe, I think it was earlier. Viktor Schauberger. Very, very interesting stuff. About vortexing water, and it cleans itself. I have this copper pipe that has a spiral inside it, and the guy who made them is based on Viktor Schauberger's work. So as the water goes through the spiral, it implodes in itself and it cleans itself. And just one of the tests they did was on chlorine, which is in city water. Before, test the chlorine before, and then you run it through the vortex, and you test it again. I think it was like a 70% reduction in chlorine just by spinning the water. And the pipe is only a short thing. I'm sure if they would make a longer one, it would do a much better job. And then later on, they did come out with a longer one, and it's actually shaped like a snake, and they said it worked better. But they weren't cheap. They were like, I don't know, $800, $900 for a little piece of pipe. If you're a handyman, you could make one yourself. Spinning the water. They even have appliances that vortex water. I can't remember which company made it. And people were making all kinds of claims, drinking vortex water.
Yeah,
But yeah, so so our whole house has vortex water. So the water leaving our house is better than what came in. Because not only vortex, we have magnets. Magnets remove memory because the water is full of memory. Just imagine in a large city how much memory is in the water. You know, memory. Water holds memory, infinite amount of memory from our understanding, infinite. And a big city has got a lot of memory going into the water.
Where are the magnets?
On the pipes. I have magnets on the pipes. I have GANS materials and nano copper on the pipes. So the water is going through these pipes with all this thing and then the vortex. So it gets changed completely. There is a difference. The water is lighter. I noticed in the toilets after we put it in, they stay cleaner compared to before, and so on and so forth. So there's lots of things you can do depending where you are. But going back to the memory, I think I have the article somewhere on the website about water. I wrote. They were scientists were studying about the capability of memory in water, and I think it was one drop can hold like 300,000 years of DVDs. So to me, that's infinite. that's what they're able to measure, you know. And there was tests that they were doing in computers instead of using crystal, to use water to hold the memory, and so on and so forth. There's a lot of amazing stuff going on out there. But water is amazing. It's magical, and it covers the whole planet. So we have all these, negative energies in the city that people are, peeing out or whatever, and it's going into the water system, and all those memories and all the pharmaceuticals and all the other chemicals and so on and so forth are all imprinted energetically in the water. Even though you're not physically there, they filter them out. Energetically, the memory of all that stuff is in the water. So you want to use that water. Some of us don't have the understanding and how to make some changes to improve that. But I've just shared with you a few things that we can all do very simply. Just put some big magnets on your water pipes where it comes inside the house. Use the north side of the magnets, and the north side. There's a confusion on how to find which is north. We're the north-seeking side of the magnet, which is actually a south. Some people, companies will mark it as north. Some companies will mark it as south. So you have to basically check it yourself. If you have a compass and you see the north is that way, for example, and you put your compass and that's pointing that way. So when you face the magnet to the compass, you want to see it pointing north. So that will be north-seeking side of the compass, and that face there is where we put that towards the pipe or towards your body if you're using magnets for therapy. But going back to cities, we were just listening to a podcast that Dr. Zach was doing, Hans, your favorite guy. he's really knowledgeable. Go back to the soil, basically, his whole concept. But he was just brought up something that a friend of mine from many, many years ago shared with us, that he was involved in a rehab center, and there was a priest running it, and they were doing a slide demonstration one time, and they showed a picture, what do you call it? Cancer cell under a microscope photograph. They showed that, and then they showed a satellite photograph of large cities, and they looked the same. You couldn't tell them apart. A photograph from a satellite of a city looks like a cancer cell. How's that? Because it is. Right? So what do we need to do? We need to work on ourselves and be the change we want to see. That's all I can suggest, because big cities, man, oh man, these last 3 months that have been really quiet. Now it's starting to all pick up again, but you can hear the birds singing, the noise of the city. There's actually a noise of the city, it's busy areas, because there's a highways not too far from here. You know, there's like a humming that never goes away in large cities from all the cars moving and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. There's a hum of the city, the noise of the city. And that was gone for the last few months. And it was, you can feel energetically the difference. So now we're going almost back to normal with the traffic and so on and so forth. But a lot of interesting things. Yeah. Anybody have?
Yeah, I mean, as you mentioned, Zach Bush.
Yeah, Zach Bush.
He's probably one of the, like, he's a triple board certified medical doctor.
Yeah.
But when you listen to his podcast and you even go on his website, the urgency that he has now is to repair the soil, because he says, what do you want to do? I mean, he studied oncology for around 10, 15 years, and he threw the microscope away, and he says, there's no solution here. Because when people sick, it's because of what they eat and what they drink and what they think. And one of the major points is when you haven't got the soil fertile that can grow proper food. What do you want to do? It doesn't matter what you do on the health side, you're just always pumping in the wrong food into people, which makes them even more sick. So that's where he runs projects now where he educates farmers as a triple board certified doctor to actually go away from tilting the soil and do organic farming to restore the balance in the soil.
That's where it starts.
Yeah, and that's where, as I say, it's very fascinating when you listen to him, and I think it goes hand in hand in, what we do here on MFS, because going back to nature and not trying to master it, you just got to live with it. And as so many times we can't explain, the deeper you look, the less you see. The further out you look, the less you see. You see one point, but you can't join all these together. And he's very strong on that. And his explanation about that, when people tilt the soil, the first thing that grows is weeds coming up. And Steve can testify that. But as I said, the weeds are not the ones that actually have grown before. They're new ones that are already in the soil. And all they're there is to regenerate the microorganism that has been destroyed. That's what the nature tries to do all the time. And we can't accept that. We just cannot accept this, because the first thing that people do is pull out the weeds, because then they don't look nice. So let's pull them out. But nature, why does nature do it? There's a reason. We just don't want to live with it. We just don't want to accept it. And he says that because the farmers, many of the farmers that he spoke to, he asked them, why do you tilt the soil? He said, the bank manager wants us to do that. He says, why? Well, it looks nice and neat, and it means we can then use the pharmaceutical product to put on top of the soil.
Exactly.
Most of the farmers that he spoke to, they have no reason, they have no idea why they tilt the soil. And they don't get the money from the bank if they don't tilt the soil, because the bank manager says they're in bed with the pharmaceutical companies, and that's the way it works. So if you don't tilt the soil, we don't give you money. So what he does is now funding projects where he funds farmers for 1 or 2 or 3 seasons that they can go back to the old ways, not tilting the soil. Think about that. He says, because I've seen soil that I couldn't even get a knife in. I couldn't even get a fork into the soil because it was so compact. But anyway, so there are things that we have to, look in that direction and understand and see where the change has to be. But that's the hardest thing, isn't it? like
Yeah,
making the change.
it's amazing, from a doctor, looking in the microscope for years and saying, we ain't going anywhere. Dissecting, it came to the realization, which most of are still doing it for 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 years, and they're trying to find the solution. Never going to find it. If we got rid of all that whole industry of trying to find solutions through the microscope, we'd be better off.
But yeah, and I mean, you see that he explains the same then when you go on the interview that he gave with Del Victory on the High Wire. That was very worthwhile watching, because they said like viruses are nothing else than the weeds. They come up when the body is out of balance. That's when viruses come up. That's when you're susceptible to it. And all they're there for is basically to heal you. But we don't see it that way. We see it as an enemy. Like weeds. We see weeds like an enemy. But the weeds are not an enemy. They're there to restore nature. And he says, and that's why we're going completely the wrong way, because we try to destroy them. That they're not there. We see them as an enemy. How can you see nature as an enemy? I mean, nature has a reason to make these viruses. It has, but we just don't want to take that point. That's as simple as that. So that's where that comes in. And it's the same as you said with when it comes to how does the body make things? We just can't explain it. Yeah. But when I came into the health movement and I came into the alkaline side, and I mean, I give all credit to Robert Young about the alkaline movement here, because he said straight away the body has no digestive system. It only processes stuff. And even for him, the only digestive tools that we have are our teeth. Because once you break the cells open in the food with your teeth, that's when the whole stuff happens after you broke down that food. And it goes on and on and on, and about sodium bicarbonate instead of hydrochloric acid and so on and so on. So that hydrochloric acid is a side product of manufacturing sodium bicarbonate, because remember I explained it a couple of times that acids don't break down foods. They burn holes, they destroy. Where on the other side, a caustic agent lifts and pulls apart, like paint stripper. Paint stripper is pulled off by a caustic agent, and caustic agent is sodium bicarbonate. So it dissolves food. It burns as well, both killing. But on either side, battery acid or the high caustic agent, peroxide, you'll kill yourself. Both burn a hole, but both have a different function in the body. Anyway, that's something. But when it comes down to what I know now too, or what I feel myself to, is that the body manufactures on energy fields, on exchange of energy fields, because no atoms actually change over from outside to inside of body. There's no atom exchange. That an atom actually, a protein atom goes through the barrier of the skin or of the tissue on the other side. All it does is transmit energy. So it can be manufactured on the other side inside the body. So that's really something that is fairly profound. But I mean, obviously, you tell that to normal people, or just to that normal science that, as I said, you're crazy men. But when you think that way and you make your own story, because that's what really we all should be doing, learn from nature and then apply it for yourself. So think about it. The body breaks food down to its liquid state. That's why it starts with your teeth. You're breaking the food down. And then it goes further, why that's other chemicals, so it gets even more liquid. And because the liquid state that things are in go into your small intestines, that's the best way of exchanging energy fields. If it's solid state, it won't. But in a liquid state, it will. Only in a liquid state, things can be exchanged. And that's what the body does, so all the way through. And then it goes through the small intestines, then it goes into the large intestines, takes the water out again, and all the rest goes out your bum, you know what I mean? But that's a far better, for me, makes so much more sense. And that's where you can see that when you look into a microscope and you look into the details, you can go into many different rabbit holes. And the rabbit holes that the normal science goes through, they made a good story. Don't get me wrong, it's a good story, and it all makes sense to the extent that you want to make sense. But look at where it also wanted to start, where it differentiated was in when Pasteur and Béchamp, one was on monomorphism and one was on pleomorphism. Dissect that, go into and learn that, what the difference is, the germ theory. Even now, the normal medicine is slowly but surely going away from the germ theory, because germs are nothing else than a waste product. They don't make you sick. They're like the smoke of the gun. Think about what kills you. What kills okay. When you shoot, when somebody gets shot, what kills him? Is it the gun? Is it the trigger? Is it the bullet? Or is it the person pulling the trigger? What kills? At the end of the day, it's the person pulling the trigger. And that's your lifestyle and dietary choices. So that's just my explanation. And germs are nothing else than the smoke of the gun, because you've done something wrong, and there's an expression of the body. And that's all. Go to Zach Bush. He's articulated, and he is such an intelligent creature, and he will pull your pants down and will show you the truth in a completely different way. Very, very worthwhile, because then you learn, see, with the whole fields and energy exchange is something that we all have to learn far more than what we did so far. And I think that's very, very crucial. But anyway, that was just my daily dose. But when you think about it, like I just read this with the coronavirus, that in the time between the 18th of March and the 19th of May, the 600 billionaires in America added another $434 billion to their accounts. Think about that. You know, that's including Amazon, Jeff, Facebook boss, all these guys, Netflix. They made in that period $334 billion added to their wealth.
Insanity.
And everybody else sucks shit. Had to do nothing. Just that. That's just, and you know, like, and we are completely, they want to change the financial system, but before they do that, they want to just maximize their profit. Think about, out of this whole crisis, the billionaires, the 600 billionaires in America, made another 434. And that was in the Forbes magazine, came out of the Forbes magazine. Isn't that staggering? Isn't that just a real good thing to have to know that everybody else, and you know, like even the riots now, that's all, I mean, it's all fabricated too. I mean, the whole thing is fabricated. It's just amazing. It's just mind-boggling when you see this, how the inequality that exists in this whole system, you know. It's just, you know, and but the problem is, as I said, I can only repeat, we don't have another system. We don't have system B. That's really what it comes down to. That's the tragedy of it. Anyway, I just thought that is a nice little fact to know that the billionaires got a bit richer through the period. I mean, and keep going. I mean, it hasn't stopped on the 19th of May. You know, it's keep going. You know, because with the share market, as I said, with everything going up before the crash and so on, it's just amazing how uneven this whole thing is. Man, anyway, that's just my daily dose here. At the end of the day, you know.
Yeah, that's incredible.
And another thing I saw is, with they make this stuff with this mask, you know, compulsory, you know, wearing a mask. And I got a little study here from Germany, you know, like where they implemented the masks. You know, when you look at that's obviously their death toll, and you can see over the period, and here they implemented the mask, you know, and nothing changed, absolutely nothing. And that was well and truly after this whole thing is over. You know what I mean?
What is the graph again?
Well, here again, I mean, It's just,
Yeah, we can see. So it's going down? What's going down exactly?
We can't hear you.
We can't hear you right now.
oh, you can't hear me?
Now we can.
Now we can.
Okay. Yeah. Anyway, so I can give you a link to that. I can put it in the chat so you can have a look at it. I mean, it's just, I can't believe, and they stand up like, and you see, it comes back down to how does the virus transmit? They don't have, nobody can explain it to you. Everybody has an opinion, no doubt, but nobody knows exactly how this is transmitted. But for me, the best explanation is the energy fields. Yes, you have to be in contact in close, but even then, energy fields can go all around the planet and attack you and solve and implement or exchange the energy fields. And that's all it comes down to. So that's more for me, far more than trying to spit at somebody, you know what I mean? Because that is not a proven fact. That is just an assumption, you know? And when you assume, you basically ask you and me, you know what I mean? So the assumptions that are made and then decisions are made, it is just mind-boggling, you know? Look, we need to protect, I understand all that, but there's other ways of doing that. And one of the best ways is of actually education, of telling the truth. Because if you tell the truth, people can live with it. But if you tell lie upon lie upon lie, people don't want to hear that. People get sick of it because the truth the truth will always be understood where the lies always going walkabout. They'll always go walkabout. And that's something that is really detrimental in our society. If you just tell the truth, I know the truth can be very, very hard to take, but it's easy to understand. But it's the better way. It lasts the longest and the furthest, the simple as that. And you never have to change the story. That's another thing too. When you lie, your story changes continuously. When you tell the truth, you don't have to change your story because it is what it is. Simple as that. So that's just a couple of things that I thought was very, as well as, I mean, with this whole, you know, with the riot and all that. There's so much more to it, but mate, I just, yeah, it's frightening because, you know, it all tends, you know, if there's that civil unrest, and think about it, all these civil unrests, they want that. The oligarchy, the money controlling mechanism wants that because it gives the people, they can vent their anger. Remember, all of these demonstrations, all of these uproars, they're all there to vent anger. And think about when the masses have vented their anger, when all the anger is out, what do? Oh, I've got to go back to work. Remember all the movements we had. Unlike movements we had with Martin Luther King, they were actually able, or Malcolm X, they were actually able to bundle and thrust that into a direction of change. And when you do that, you know what happens? You get shot. The establishment takes you out. But when you just vent anger like we do now in the, you know, everywhere around the world, all we do is basically vent anger, you know, get the frustration out of us. Lock somebody up for 3 months causes a lot of anger. So let them now vent the anger, and then we can keep going making money with them. Because where else are they going? Where else? With all these movements, what are they going to do? Where is the change? Remember, all these experts, all this knowledge we have got us exactly to the situation that we're in. All they do is controlling it. It's a thorn in their eyes, but they make a few concessions. They have to pay the workers a few $1,000s. But what's that? When you see that they just made in 1 month $434 billion. I mean, well, what's that? I was just saying that's where, you know, like, but it's nothing else there to, all we'll see is vent anger. Get rid of the anger, and then what's then? What's then? Oh, got to go back to work. Yeah, off you go. Work. No change. That's all I'm saying, you know. It's, and you know, I know that I'm repeating myself, but there's nothing else to say because there is nothing else. except for us, when you do your own change and then you know, there is other ways of doing that. But it's only on the small scale, and it's only local, not global. See, that's the whole thing. The whole global thing is so detrimental. I said it so many times, it's destructive. Globalization is destructive, destroys humanity. That's what it does. Tell me different. Show me the difference. Show me all the solutions. I can't see them. I just don't see them. All I see is more mitigation of problems that we have implemented. More mitigations. But there's no solution. There is no solution. You can come from a religious point of view. You can come from any point. There is no solution. It's control, and has always been like that. I mean, some people don't want to lead. Some people don't want to take their own action or their own responsibility. But then the people that take the leadership on, how wrong have they done this? Why? Because you want to take advantage of other people that you lead. Isn't that always the case? Isn't that exactly what all politicians might do? Corporations, they don't give a shit about you as a human being. As long as you can make, they can use you as a resource, either to consume or to make something, or to, as I said, to be used. That's all it is. And that's wrong. But how do we change that? Please enlighten me. Please let somebody come up with solutions.
It's just with our consumption, we got to choose what we spend our money on. I think it's the only thing we can do individually is choose carefully what we put our money into. And maybe to your point, we need to start buying up land and using it to develop the soil and grow with styles like permaculture and things like this, because I agree. I don't see any good solutions coming from so-called leaders about, how to make things better for people.
Absolutely, Ben. Yeah. Look, that's it. That's what I'm saying. But see, that's happening locally in your own environment where you have to do that. And you have to sever yourself from the existing system or distance yourself. Because otherwise you're going into the same mode, you know what I mean? Look, like, and I understand with all the black movements and all this, but think about the United States. They have had 60 to 100 million indigenous people 500 years ago, and 3 million people are left, and they don't address the problem. They have never addressed the problem. They have never done anything for it. They're just ignoring it. And that's what I'm saying. That's the ruling class. Whoever is in charge, well, who cares? It doesn't matter. They all do the same. We're not ruling, and we're not accepting nature as our God, as our leader. You know what I mean? That's where all indigenous people have always taken nature as their spirit, as their leader, and you don't go against it. Where we don't do that, we just completely plunder the planet and pollute the planet. So yeah, I'm right with you, Ben. I mean, it's the only way. Yeah, absolutely. Buy up land, go permaculture, sack Bush, listen to him, because he's honestly, you'll be another person after you listen to him. You become another person when you're open for it. Other people will say, "Hey, well, it was this dickhead saying," you know what I mean? Like, oh, that's your opinion. But at the end of the day, think about it. When such a smart man goes and does educate farmers now instead of running his clinic, I mean, that says something, you know what I mean? Because he's solution orientated. He wants a solution. To help people and their health, we need healthy soil. And if you don't have that, it's like, what, or living with isolates and just in stimulants and all the rest of it doesn't cut the cake. It says the wholesomeness of it. And that's why that's all it needs. But that's the waking up for each individual of us. Each individual has to wake up and do that and work towards that. With all the falling off, with all the rest, only then we can stand combined together and create a thrust in a movement. But even then, you don't want to roll the world. Change just your environment. Just change your own surrounding. That's all you have to do. Don't worry about what happens 6,000 kilometers away. That's none of your problems. Your own problems are here, right here, where you're at. That's where your problems are, and that's where you're going to solve it. It's like inside your body. You know, people go, oh, I've got to go into a resort here and a resort there, and I have to do this and I have to do that. No, just sit at home and eat nothing. How about that for a change? How about just that for a change? Do that. Do nothing. I'm just saying that's all I have ever come across when you get help. I don't know. Just my daily dose.
Yeah,
of it.
step by step. We don't have to go crazy all of a sudden. You know, we really like change a little bit every day. Maybe I have a little plan. You know, it's very interesting to see what you know. I feel we are quite. You know, most of us here are on the same page. We want to come closer to nature. We believe that you know, and fasting, which is connects us to God. It's a very spiritual practice. We are into spirituality. I would say more than the average person, and I believe we have, you know, we understand what, you know, the other person is saying. We agree with it. You know.
Yeah.
So. Yeah, it's interesting to know what everybody has to say about what's happening, and how you see a solution to this. Because the problem we already know. we watched enough, and the news and even like social media by people like us too, who are open to spirituality and to connecting, and less is more lifestyle and minimalist kind of, and more about like our true fighting for our freedom. I mean, we don't really want to fight. It's our freedom. It's our rights. So what does everybody, you know? It's nice to focus on the solutions and how do we implement them, because the problem, we know it is here. We have actually known this way before it happened, right? It's nothing new to us. It's just now it's like it's happening more than ever, which is great because it helps us change. You know, it gives us the more motivation, more energy to really take it seriously, the change, right? Maybe before we were too busy to make big changes in our lives. And also it helps with mass awakening. Not only us, but many other people are now questioning their lives. You know, what am I doing? Am I happy in my job that I haven't been doing for a few months, or I have slowed down for a few months, and now I have more time to reflect. So it's nice to know what everybody has, like what kind of solution everybody has come up with. Of course, there are lots of ideas, and I was thinking to actually, you know, it would be nice to have a Zoom where we all can share solutions, and you know, what does each one of us want to do about what's happening. Solution. There are problems and there are solutions, but what is everybody, each individual, doing about it, really, right? You know, I think growing your own food and getting into that is so beautiful. You know, naturally I feel like I'm drawn to that. Last year was my first year having Gino's garden, access to a garden in my life. Really, I never grew anything before, like fruits and vegetables. And I loved it when Gino used to sometimes comes and, you know, brings me celery or cucumbers. And I was like, oh my God, the smell is so good. I love these things. And when I got the chance to, you know, to have a garden, I definitely wanted to take advantage of that opportunity. And I started last year growing stuff. You know, it takes time, like Steve says, it takes practice, many years before you know what you're doing. And this year I got a little bit better. It's nice because, you know, never give up, right? If you want to get good at something, cooking, I was never really into cooking. I mean, so much patience and time and energy and, creativity into it. But then, yeah, I got more into it. I guess because I was never married before and no family, so I didn't have to put so much into it. Cooking for yourself alone, you really gotta be motivated to do that. And also getting into the fasting lifestyle, and before that raw food. So really, I didn't, in the past, I would say 8 years, I didn't get so much into cooking traditional food. But it's always nice to learn. I want to become good at cooking, maybe my first year is going to be horrible or not great, not like a traditional cook, because also I'm trying to be creative. No salt, no this, no that, no oils, no nuts, no seeds, no meats, no, so like it's not traditional. Definitely my food is not traditional. And that's even more tricky. You're not just following a recipe, but you're modifying a recipe and you're learning how to cook properly. So, but you know what? If I give up, I will never make good food. If I practice, I'll get better. Never, I guess that's it. That's like everything in life. Keep going, never give up, like fasting. If you do it and you feel amazing and then you give up after a month or two, you're gonna go back to your old ways, and you have just practice. You have to keep going until you become good at it. When you break your fast, every time you break your fast, you get better and better. Okay, sometimes you have big falls, no big deal. Get up and continue and get better at what you're doing, and never give up on yourself. So for me, I feel like there's so much. I mean, my goodness, even when I'm not working, I feel life can be very busy, which is great, because I don't want to be bored. I don't want to be bored. I want to be learning and growing continuously. But I think it's important to focus on some stuff, right? What matters. If I like to, I want to get into gardening more than anything else, then I want to put more time into that and learn. And it takes time to learn. There are tons of information out there, which is a blessing. If I don't like to read, I don't have to read anymore. I can just watch a video. This is, so many different ways of learning. Yeah, and tons of information, much more than ever, I would say, with the internet. So we are blessed. But the focus, you have to be focused, you have to be disciplined, and you have to keep going and never give up, just like with anything else. For me, I feel like learning how to grow the food. And sometimes I think, for me, I would say my biggest goal really is to become self-sustained. I think that's just so beautiful and empowering. And it's like, I think freedom at its best, I don't know how else can you get more free, you're self-sustained. You don't need pretty much anything almost, the more self-sustained I feel, the more free I would feel. Nothing can stop me from being, from doing my best. And I feel, when you do your best, when I do my best, for me, that's heaven. I don't need, it put me in a jail, okay? With nothing.
What's interesting about what you're saying is, like, when I first came into this group, I didn't imagine there would be so much talk about gardening and farming and growing food and self-sustainability, but it seems like week after week we come to that same theme, and I'm also completely on board with that. I've been trying to grow food, and it's like taken over my political views and all that kind of thing. And when I think of solutions, it feels like that is one of the ultimate solutions, and living like minimalistically the way we hear about it in our group over and over again. In terms of like solutions and things, I feel like it's such a huge part of what we need to do. But I'm also like constantly concerned about getting other people on the same page, especially family and friends that just don't seem to see it, or they don't want to see it. And I'm also thinking a lot these days, like, about what it means, like a retirement and all that. I mean, I keep thinking about how, you know, we work with these full-time jobs and we have these pensions kind of, we don't even know what's in our pension, but we know that there are stocks, and we're inadvertently kind of supporting companies that are doing all kinds of damage to the world the way we see it, but we seem to have no choice about whether or not we should, you know, what are you going to do? Tell people, like, stop accepting your pension, stop working for your pension. It's not so easy for people to do that. And even for me, I'm like, yeah, what am I going to do for retirement? Should I just trade in my pension and buy some land and work it that way? Maybe that's part of what needs to happen. But I just feel like more and more, I want to move away from that whole stock market idea. And then the other thing that when Hans Peter was talking about what we're doing with our leadership and stuff, I just got done reading the book Animal Farm by Orson Welles, and it's basically like an allegory of how, you know, there was a takeover in the communist world, and these farm animals basically took over the farm and then kind of created their own government, but eventually it became completely corrupted the same way the original communist government was. So it's like, how do we do it the right way? Because it feels like no matter what we do, it just keeps coming back to the same thing. And I mean, I can't help but say something when you talk about farming again, and knowing that, you know, Steve's a big part of that, and hearing Hans Peter talking about it, and I think it was Amy, I forget, but like in weeks past, we keep hearing about the same kind of theme. So yeah, it's a big part. It seems like a big part of what's going on.
But you see, Ben, you have to confront yourself with that, and then it's just a matter of chipping away, like MFS. You have to understand the protocol, and when it makes all sense, then you keep doing it. Okay, you keep making it wrong, but then you keep doing it, and it's a continuation of it, the continuation. And I'll just say, you know, like if you're in the books, Thinking in Indian, Mr. John Mohawk, we had, in America, you've had the system. You had a complete imbalanced system with indigenous people. You can't go any further than that. The way that they lived in their geographical area and what they did with their environment was the way that we got to live as species on the planet. Because everything else that you change on that will destroy the environment and will destroy the system. And that's exactly what happens. I'm not making I'm just saying that's because think about what happened in the last 500 years on that continent and everywhere else too. I see here, I'm in Australia, the Aboriginals. They lived in balance. When we come in and change the system, great. But where are we? Locked away with the coronavirus hanging around. That's what I'm saying. The one thing about the Indians, a lot of the Indians, remember, they had non-coercive governing. And when they had their little town meetings, most of them had a stick, a talking stick. So when you had the stick in the hand, you were able to talk. All right? Once you were finished with your talk, you were able to pass it on. But before you passed it on to the other person, that person had to stand up and summarize to everybody what you just said. All right? Now think about it. If our politicians would have to do that in Parliament, summarize what the previous speaker said, that means that you actually have to listen for once, because they don't. And secondly, you have to, it actually gets into your mind. What did that person try to bring across? Do you know what I mean? And when you had it summarized, then you were given the stick and then you were able to do your talk. Now think about if that would still be in place. So we all would appreciate what you just said, and we would summarize it in our mind, because that starts to make sense, you know what I mean? Where when you see people listen in thing and they just have their own little, and they don't, you wouldn't know what the other person said. You wouldn't know. But if you want to have respect and you want to have a non-coerciveness, then you need to stick, and you need to understand that you have to listen to the other people because they have a valid point. And if you learn to understand and can sympathize with that valid point, that will make so much difference in a whole community. Just let that run through your mind a bit, you know what I mean? If we all, everywhere you go, there'll be a stick passed around. And you can only talk when you have to stick, and you have to summarize what the previous speaker said. Will change the whole world completely. Anyway, just another thing that has been done, has worked for hundreds of thousands of years. And we throw it all out the door. Just saying. Just another daily dose here about it. Just, you're right, Ben. I mean, it is about solution. And the more we can exchange, and I love if more people would throw in and come in with solutions. Or, you know what I mean? Like just inspiration. Like, see, my inspiration comes from stuff like that. When you read in his book about family, how the indigenous people had families organized, then you don't worry about retirement because the family looks after you. Do you know what I mean? You don't have a worry. That's why you have families of 10, 12 kids, because then they have 10, 12 kids. They will look after you. There's no need for pensions because the group does it. And if you're self-reliant and self-sufficient like they were, where's your worry? Let it go. You can live in the spirits then. You can live in the fields. You don't have to worry about stock market or making another dollar. That's what I'm saying. That's inspiration. That is pure life. That is pure connection to source, to me. That's what we got to go. That's what I'm even trying in my own little environment. Hard. Man, it's hard. But if we never make ourselves aware, if we never discuss it, if we never inspire each other, we'll never get there. It doesn't just happen overnight and we just open the blinds and it's all there. No, you have to work actively on it. Same as with MFS. You want to read about it and you want to read about it and you want to talk about it, but if you never do it, how do you strip yourself clean? It's that agony you got to go through. And I'm thinking, it's great if we can, like talk to each other and give each other the agony. I'm so frustrated when I see this fuckwits making $334 billion in a month. How does that happen? In 2 months, sorry. I mean, man, is the system right or is it wrong? You tell me. And if it's right, where do we miss out? What have we done wrong? Always $9 billion in the bank account. And does that make me happy? Look at Jim Carrey. He wishes that everybody would be as rich as him. We can see that is not the solution. You know what I mean? I'm just saying. So many things are there. And that's that frustration and that's that thing. And that's why we need that inspiration. And introduce the stick. Anyway, that's just Sunday morning. Was here Sunday morning. Yeah. Anyway, how are you going, John? And Brittany is here too. How are you, Brittany? How's that anima going?
Oh God. well, here, like I'm back. You guys know I kind of butchered everything. So I'm working on it. I just, I wasn't balancing the parts, so I was getting all this water stuck in me that never came out. So I've got to figure out, just start from square one. That's what I have to do. I can run around everywhere to like all these places, things, whatever. This is the system. This is what is going to work. But the thing is, if you throw the parts out of balance, then you're going to spiral your body out into a lot of imbalance that you eventually have to correct again, So I just got to trust it, move it, you know, bowels haven't moved, plaque stuck in there. So I got to start at and tinctures,
Did you
juice, pudding, enemas, consistent, you know?
did you stop plugging yourself up?
Yeah. And that's when I realized, and I stopped doing that. And then I went back into this, and that's why, you know, the body, everything up here was stuck. So the colon just kept holding on to water. And I went for a colonic, and liters just stuck, never came out. So that was my karma. I got to deal with that now. I have to fix it, you know? So.
Brittany, can I say one thing?
Yes, of course.
You don't have to fix it. You don't.
Yeah.
Let nature fix it. See, that's where I really think you spin yourself too much around, because you have this thrive and this thrust to, I got to do this and I got to do that, instead of just, it's not going to happen if I force it. The more I force it, the less it's going to happen. That's just me. That's how I work. If I try to do something so desperate, and in particular if it's with your own organism, how can I've got to cut. This wound has to heal now. I got to put everything in at this, and I've got to make sure. But you know what? How it heals the quickest? If you forget about it. If you just forget about it and let nature do its part. And then you come back. Oh, look! The scab fell off. I didn't even know, because you forget about it. You know what I mean? A lot of times you get too entrenched in this. That
was what I did. It's like, it was, when things were okay, it was as simple as me just following the parts, doing my enemas when I needed to. But then somewhere along the line, it was like, I got in my head, you know, I got tired when I was drinking the juice, so then I would just try to wash more. And my colon didn't really, it wasn't always time to just do too much washing. You know, you can't do too many things all at once and try to be like, I need to get this out. I need to get this out. So it held on to a lot, and I got some that just went up higher. So now it's just like, I have to just let my mind go and just go back into it structured. And sometimes I have to, like, even though I'm obstructed up here, sometimes I have to hold the enemas longer and really massage in to loosen it, because it's like that stuck. Because if I just do it and dump, some water will come out, but then it'll just go up really quick and just like go up really fast. So
also,
I heard the pop yet.
Steve's like, why is she even on here again? No.
Someday you'll hear it.
I know.
I would also, you know, learn to be, you know, do my best to forgive myself, you know, and you know, like, you haven't done anything wrong. Like, how do you know it's all about it's karma, what's happening to you? You don't know. So, love yourself, forgive yourself. We all come from so many different, God knows, you know, where we come from. It's okay. Right now you are blessed, and that's what we focus on, right? You are blessed to be alive. You are blessed to have all these opportunities in front of you, and you get to choose. Enjoy it when you're ready. Maybe sometimes we're depressed, we're not ready, but when you're ready, you know, when you feel a little bit more positive, go ahead and start, you know.
Everything is exactly the way it should be, or it wouldn't happen.
Yeah, perfectly designed by the divine, you know. Like, we cannot say, oh, you know, I'm at a worse luck than you. No, it's not about luck. This life is not about, you know, luck.
Have you tried a shop vac?
No, what is it? No, tell me what it is. This is gonna be funny.
It's a vacuum people use in their shops, wet and dry vac. You said you can't get rid of the water. I'm just joking, but
just put it in my body. Just get rid of all the water. And that was like where it got difficult, because it's like I just want to move back in and feel better, but it kind of like bloated and just went out, and then it gets difficult, because if not even like eating, it's like if I'm drinking or whatever, even if it's like, which isn't ideal for my state, but if it's just a juice with like fruit or something like that, or just fruit itself, kind of just expands out, and it like something's going on with my gut tissue and everything up here.
Brittany,
Yes.
how long was your longest, how many days did you do with Master Fast in a row?
It was probably when I was just going consistent and then starting to release, it was like 5 days. That was the most, honestly. So
I mean, that's, you want to be consistent, right? So 5 days, let's say you want to do level 5 or whatever, right? 5 days, and then you eat cleaner, right? You eat clean. And then you go for another 5 or 3 or 4, whatever you want. You choose your lifestyle, right? The first day or the first few days, depending where you come from, if you're eating like heavier foods and you start washing your colon, it's not going to feel fun. It's not going to be fun even for me.
You probably would even get like water stuck, because for me, I went that long without even having a bowel movement at all.
Releasing, I'm happy. And you know what? I always release, regardless of what I ate. I always release when I wash, Okay, sometimes the release is much harder than other times, but I release. And it can feel horrible for like the first half of the day, or maybe the whole day, or maybe 2 days, 3 days, 4 days, before I start feeling much better. So you have to give yourself a chance to stay on the lifestyle long enough. The beginning is always hard. You cannot complain the first few days because it doesn't. Your body is recovering a lot in the first few days, and then slowly, you will find that it's adapting, and it's actually healing, and you'll feel much better with the recovery.
And that's what I have to like. That's what I need to stick with. But what I was struggling with, it was like for like the few days when I was just like steadfast with it, and I was doing like my Kalima board, I was doing enemas, and I was getting like some water coming out, but then when I was washing, it was like water would kind of come out and I'd have to really kind of massage and then relax, and so much water would just stay in and not come out.
It doesn't
and that
about it too much, unless it's like if it feels very painful and something is wrong, like really, really off, then don't do it.
Your bowels are very much asleep.
Maybe they are.
That's why they're holding water, because water is for the bowels to dump. But I haven't heard anybody have any challenges like you. There's even other people who've had bowel surgery and so on and so forth, unless they screwed something up in your bowels. But I don't think so, because you were releasing, and it's just let go of the past, be in the present, embrace.
That's what I'm gonna try to do, because like I think everything was okay and stuff was coming out, and it was like really, really intense to get it to, but then when it wasn't, I was just doing the same things, the right things, and just renounced food for like a really long time. And then if I did, I would just go into fruits. But when I was doing it, I started noticing like water would go in and it like wouldn't come out, but then it would just start going like everywhere. And I felt like really sick. I couldn't like move sometimes. And that's why I want to move back into it. But I did, with the doctor that I was seeing, they are going to do a study like where they're going to put a camera and they're going to see like what's going on with my bowel system to make sure everything's okay. But I think I caused damage. I'm not sure, but
how did you cause it?
What?
How did you cause the damage?
I don't think it was necessarily washing. I think it was just doing things so imbalanced, or just like eating all the wrong things, and then like the next day like plunging into washing and then tinctures.
That we do not damage our bodies with washing. We don't.
Yeah.
I'm a colon hydrotherapist, and I can tell you we don't. Some doctors or whatever, other people may have a different opinion about it, but I tell you, that's not, if there is a damage, it is definitely not the washing.
It's mainly the obstructions and the toxins that build up that cause the damage.
Absolutely. And we are fully responsible for them because these were our choices.
Yeah.
Take it easy. I mean, if you feel like very anxious about washing your colon, then just do massive fast hybrid. So you're eating, and do whatever, like as many enemas or whatever as you can. But if you can't, then slow down. No problem.
Yeah, it was like the eating patterns and like that stuff, you know. And then when stuff did get bad and I was in the ER and they gave me like these laxatives that kind of just got stuck like up in my middle. It's like it's that stuff, because like that's what I realized when things were going well. It's never the washing or the water that's ever the problem. It's the stuff that's in there that corrodes your body and like causes all these.
Yeah, but excuse me, look around you. We're all in the same boat when it comes to that. We all
Yeah.
come from that. You know, it's not like you're different from us. We're all the same. Unless you have, I don't know, if you had a surgery, abdominal surgery, and you had some whatever, something different happening, then yes, maybe I would understand. But otherwise, we don't have problems like that.
Mm-hmm.
We don't focus on the water is stuck, you know. If you
Yeah, just like let go of it, and just if it is, let it go.
I'm telling you, if there is a difference here, you from everybody else that we have seen on the master fast, it would be some surgery that you have done, not even the food, because we all come from the same, more or less.
There was one they did. It was 2014, and it went well. Like my bowels were like 2-3 times a day when I got well again in 2015, but it took like a year to recover. But it was a rectal prolapse surgery, and what they did is they did it laparoscopically, like through the front, and then they reattached like the rectum to the colon. I don't know if that could have played a role, but my bowels were regular like the following year. It could have been doing things like very sporadically, like when I was on my thyroid medicine and I just jumped off of it. It could have been that like way back, you know. It could be a lot of things, just like impulsive decisions. But
what kind of lifestyle were you living when you were moving your bowels after the surgery?
it was pretty clean. It was just like vegetables, sometimes raw, sometimes cooked, like fruits. I didn't really know about fruitarian. I didn't know about like all those things. I wasn't actually very well versed in detoxification, but I knew from like a time when I was really healthy and like clean inside and drank a lot of water before I learned like the other things about the kidneys and everything. I always was like not wanting to eat very much, but then that year things were going well and I was regular every day, and then I was clean eating, but then also like enjoying things. So I was like kind of a little bit SAD, but no meat or like anything, but you know, dairy and gluten was in there. So it could have all been that over time that eventually got me to a point where my body was just like, you can't really like live those things anymore too much. But some of it was processed, so that's like kind of what creates it. And I also realized there was a lot of times I was brewing a lot of herbal teas and drinking them down a lot with enemas and stuff. Maybe I was doing it too harshly, but I don't know.
In my opinion, the best solution is for you to sit down and clear your mind of whatever choice you make, you want to enjoy, okay?
Mm-hmm.
Whatever choice you make, you want to fully bless and enjoy. There is no negativity with it. If you're feeling, okay, there is something absolutely negative, then you will have to change your plan.
Mm-hmm.
You will have to sit down and bless every plan that you are making and choice. You don't want to live your life being negative about the choice that you made. It's not nice. Trust me, you're not going to enjoy life like this.
Yeah.
If you make like a choice and you keep saying every day, oh my God, this is very negative. Oh my, and keep finding. I mean, there are people like that, right? You keep finding the negative in the choice that you made. How are you going to grow? How are you going to learn? You're not even going to move forward. You'll be
it's like it's more like you should like love yourself even more, because
it's not even honestly, just make a choice. You don't need us. You already know our opinion.
Mm-hmm.
You want to sit down and write down what is the best choice based on everything that you have learned. You know our what we say, right? Based on our experiences, what we share, right? So sit down and make your choice. Maybe make 2 choices, okay? Do the one that you like the most. And if it's very negative, then move, like you want to adapt yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Change to another, change something. So do it, by yourself, because you need to quiet yourself. I mean, we cannot quiet your mind, right? You will have to quiet your mind. You want to find a solution. and enjoy it and bless it. If there is anything negative about it, and because what I understand here is that you're following some path, you're trying to do the master fast, but it's just so negative. It's not moving forward for you. Now you haven't done more than 5 days, right?
Yeah, and it was the addictive eating. Like that was like where it got really bad, and then coming off that was.
Any of us are not addicted to food.
But you can get back on, and I think the part of me I have to let go is when it gets really, really bad and I'm really not feeling good, or I'm feeling really like sick, but not in like a detox way, and just like a more like inflamed, just whatever kind of way. I get like worried that I'm gonna die, and that's probably what I have to put away from my mind.
A lot of negativity with the choices that you're making. So you want to sit down, make a choice that sounds right to you, to your mind. Okay, do it, and if you feel it's becoming negative again, you'll have to change it. You'll have to adapt. Keep adapting it until it becomes positive. Change things until you are okay. You have faith about what you're doing, because you want to build.
Yeah.
We can build anybody's faith.
Like when I used to get excited, like when I do my tinctures in the morning, everything, I used to get so excited for all of my parts. And even when I wasn't feeling great and things were kind of working, but I was like excited. And then somewhere when I did things in a like very harsh or chaotic way and did way too much too fast, like, and overdid it, pushed my body too much. And then it's like almost like my joy went away. And that's what I have to find again, just like my inspiration. And like falling in love with what I'm doing again.
Yeah, for sure.
Can I just say something?
Yeah.
Brittany, I often kind of beat myself up in what it sounds like you're saying, like when you say like maybe it's karma coming back at you. I've felt like that so many times. About a week ago, I just kind of gave into bad eating, and like I get all crazy about bread. And there's this bread that was in the refrigerator at my mom's house, and I went to town on it, ate like most of the loaf, kind of gave in that way. And then I was like, all right, well, I'm going to put avocado on it. Had avocado toast, had bread, had lentils, had quinoa, had all kinds of stuff, and was beating myself up pretty good about it. And then I don't know. I mean, like I just kind of got back on and I did a cleaning, and I mean, on all accounts, from what I can tell, one of the successes of a good cleaning is if you can eliminate some kind of parasite. And I haven't done that. The longest master fast I was on was a 20-day. And I never saw any kind of parasite, but there was like a worm that came out that was pretty big, and I was excited. And that was coming off of like bad karma, you know, because I went from binging on this stuff and beating myself up and thinking like, okay, I'm all blocked up, and you know, I got to just get back on the right path. And I started, and there it was. And I was like surprised and happy, and just felt like, okay, I can do it. You know, I can get back on it. So I know that feeling. I know that feeling of like getting all kind of, you know, negative about things, because that's me exactly. That's how I get, and I run myself down, and I don't have the same kind of blockage things that you've got going on, but I know that feeling of negativity. So when Rana speaks to that, I totally get what she's saying, and I hear every word of it, because it's true. I think that just like staying positive and knowing that it's not bad karma. You keep coming back to this system, you keep coming back to this group and stuff, and it's like your karma is great. Your karma is just fine. It's
like
just
inside me. It's like knowing. I just know. I just know my heart like resonates with it, and I think where I have to balance myself more is when, even before MFS, like when I was doing like well with these things, I was doing a lot of studying, like almost when I first got sick and was in the hospital, like the psych unit place for like months. And I was getting sicker and sicker, but I knew I was dealing with parasites and realized, you know, you can't mention it there, but one doctor did believe me. But when I was actually doing well with it and how many of them I was passing and stuff like that, and I learned about them and like how they reproduce, how much they do. and then like the fungus, the biofilm. And when I was talking with Crystal Tripp like a long time ago, and I heard her story, and I think it's like when I realized just how much mucus and plaque and all this stuff that we have in us, and I realized like where I am kind of on that spectrum, especially with not even moving my bowels like for this long. And I almost have to let the mind go, but then pay attention to that, but like not way too much, because it's like those things that it's like it's like so like the acuity with it is so much in my mind, and I've seen myself change up and down like so much and got so attuned with the body that I freak out sometimes. So I have to not over analyze, like over observe it, or I like will freak myself out. And then like the other thing that got tough was when I was like taking the psyllium and I was like washing, but then prior to that, like I hadn't been eating very great. So I was taking the pudding and it got stuck, and then like I don't know if it stays in there too long, does it kind of like dry and get sticky? Because
I wondered the same thing. And sometimes I do that, and I'll have the pudding, but then I'll eat the wrong foods, and then I wonder the same thing because I feel blocked up. So that's a good question. I'm curious about that.
And it made
too.
sense when Gina was saying like go up on the pudding, but it's like it's not as like it's not going to feel as beneficial like when you're eating obstructively. And that's what I realized like made things more difficult for me, because like it's still in. I got some of it out, like a little tiny bit, like some days ago after washing like a lot, but
when you're on the master fast, it doesn't really get stuck.
yeah,
It moves
because you're
out
always washing and you're
beautifully.
always drinking.
Compared to the food, you're drinking like your 2 liters, and it's moving through you beautifully. It actually slides straight out. It's beautiful. Whereas when we're eating, things are, depending what you're eating, the more obstructive, the more, hard it is.
Yeah. And the other question, like with the juice for me, is when I was at the beginning, I was doing like 1.5 liters, and I would get really, really exhausted when I did more, but that was like helping me. And I found that when I would do my enema in the morning, and I would just get like a liquid release of just like the old acids or whatever, and then I would drink my juice. And this is just something I've had going on with me, where I don't pass bowel movements on my own without enemas. One day that can change, but like I started to get this diarrhea feeling, because the juice loosened things, it wanted to come out.
You're doing the master fast long enough, we do move in our
Yeah, so that's what I have to focus on. But should I, with the juice, I drink it. It's just because of my obstructions. I get like very, very, very tired. So then I have to wash more because it won't like really come out on its own. So
the juice won't come out.
Yeah.
The juice? No, the juice. We take it because it helps us release. Okay. Yeah. No, the juice does not get blocked. We take it to release. We take it to de-obstruct.
Okay, and then that was where it was hard, because like I'd be drinking, and then I think if I waited too long, but like when I did my enemas, I'd have to really massage them, and then I would start pulling out some of the liquid with the juice, and then I would like wash a lot and wouldn't really like move it all out. But if I don't do enemas and I just drink it, like it just kind of like will stay. That's just kind of where my body's at now. So
when you're doing the master fast, we have to wash.
Yeah. And that was what was helping. If I waited too long, like it would still help. And I would still keep washing, but then I would get this thing where I'd get the water going stuck up again.
You can wash anytime, morning or evening. There is no too long. There's no waiting too long. We wash at least 6 liters once a day. There's no too long. Mm-hmm. We're washing every day. There's no too long.
And then once it starts to move, it gets fun. Like
yeah.
Always. But yeah, it's like I like feeling into my body and like looking into it. I can feel like what everything, like where it is and like what it's doing. And so
why don't you let go of trying to figure out what's going on in your body?
Yeah.
Surrender. because if we go through your posts, your threads, you're continuously repeating and focusing on things that will never help you. So if you want to have changes, you got to make some changes in what you're doing and how you're looking at things. And this is the biggest challenge with many people, changing the belief system. So let it all go. Follow the protocol or not. Choice is yours.
And that's it. And it honestly, like once it gets started, like it may be really difficult because of my old decisions. And it's like, it's that idea of just focus and consistency and just keep going. Don't go back to the old habits. If they're not serving you, just keep going as long as you can, because it's going to take a longer time if you were doing that so much, you know, when you were already sick.
Well, yeah, the habits of humans is what most people go back to their old ways, right? We've seen it over and over and over and over again. I've been at this 3 decades, and that's what people do. So what do we do to get out of that? Well, we're all here, and we're trying to support each other as best we can, so we don't do that, you know, going back to the old ways. And by going through the experiences little by little, we're going to be able to have a different understanding and bring us clarity. And once that happens, we will start letting go the old stubborn belief systems that have been ingrained in us, you know, growing up through our years.
Yeah.
It's not easy for people to let it go. It's not
And
easy.
I think I realized too, the toughest part for me is like someone who's very close to me, like that I live with here, and just like where I'm living is like I'm all kind of focused in like that direction, but where I am, it's a lot of the old systems and a lot of like, you know, sometimes like rap music or just blasting music and blaring the TV. And it was interesting that meditation you did that night, it was just a synchronicity or a sign. Like I had my eyes closed and we were like moving upward, and you said like creation is like an implosion, a delicate implosion. As right as you said it, like downstairs, the TV just gave a giant explosion. And I was like, oh man, like, but it's kind of feeling like, I think it's the test of like, even if you feel alone and there's all these rattling energies here while you are moving toward healing and you're honoring something that is moving away from like all of that, is just trusting in your aloneness and being okay with that, which I get very sensitive too, like sensitive, like if I want to meditate or just really center, really once this starts moving like through, it gets easier for like my mind or my brain. But if I'm just trying to read or just think clearly and there's just so many things and crashing and stuff going on around me, I can handle it for a time, but then I just kind of have to go outside and just find silence, which is, it's okay that things are going on in that way. But for me, like the silence is where I would always come back, not just to my healing, but to myself. And it's hard to find that right now. So I'll put my earplugs in and stuff, but you can feel as well, no, this doesn't sound crazy. It's just the part of the belief system or the fear mind or whatever. Like the thing that like I find is that like, even if like those frequencies, if they're there or there's anger or stress or low vibrations, like they're in the environment when you're trying to like move into grace and stuff like that, you feel it and try not to absorb it. But that's why it is that. That's why I like being here, and it's like a family of people that have that intent and have that focus, and just I look forward to it like every Saturday. And there was a time I would get in my head because I wasn't doing well where I decided not to go on, and then I was just like screw that. Like it makes me happy, honestly, to be connecting with people, like moving in that direction, because you won't always find that in a lot of the world.
So what are you going to do about it now?
I'm thinking of like all the things. Well, follow the protocol, let go of my mistakes and let go of my fear. Because I don't fear things, but I fear losing my life, and not through the protocol, but through. But see, it's like you just stop focusing on that and just find ways to just honor and trust my soul. That's what it is. It's like moving into the steps, connecting on here and journaling, like going outside when I need to, and having trust and faith. Like, it's easy to have trust and faith when you're at your best or you're really doing well, but then when you're at your worst, it becomes harder, and that's where I think it's the most important thing. So I need to relax or just like rest more, like when I can, or if I am like rattled a little bit, journal, be on here, do the parts, fall in love with what I'm doing. And I'm trying to work on finding a way to almost get into that graceful state when things are just going crazy around here, and I just like want a moment to be in that dance with what I'm doing, or read or meditate, or even just sit and be able to just like think in this flowing way when things are not like crashing and booming around me. And that's what I'm struggling with. I thought to myself, do I leave here, or do I dance with it and make it work? And I'm not really sure yet, but
The power of the pen. Do you use the power of the pen to write things down?
yeah, I started doing that more the past couple days because I stopped writing, and it came through like every step of this journey I need to be writing, and I need to be, that's actually really important. Poetry too, just putting your essence into the page. It's like such a meditation.
Are you playing your guitar? You're playing your piano?
Yeah, I did that tonight. I wasn't for a couple days, but I did. And all those things. The thing that's been bothering me is in this time, like with my family, I miss them a lot. Like I really love them. My mom is a little stressed, but so much was coming to me even in dreams, like where my dad is like so hopeful for me to get better. And he used to tell me like back in the days when I was well and on my path and doing some healing work and just on my mystic roads, and which I never stopped. I'm always on it, you know, like even it's always there like within you, just weaving through. But my dad used to say to me that he believed so much in me and he saw the healer in me, that at first he used to think I was crazy about like all this stuff and everything. But when I first got sick and then I was kind of coming through and asking a couple places for help, and he said to me, I think you're the healer that you're like looking everywhere for. And I just started to cry because I never heard him say that. But he found one of my old music things that I made back when I was in my light body, and he just wrote, "This is why I love you so very much," like always. And the woman that guided my friend and I years ago actually just came back into my life recently. It was an incredible synchronicity, and we were speaking, and she said, your father is hurting a little bit right now because he's worried about you and you're his joy. I've been just having a lot of things come through with my dad and my connection with him, but he's in pain right now and he's not well, like he's sick. And that's why I want to do the best I can with myself, because I want to help him. I want to go over there and I want to help my dad. I know he's not fully acquainted with or open to some of the things that like we do here, but like I know he's in pain a lot and he struggles, and I just love him so much. And you know, things get put into perspective, like when you're sick or when someone is or whatever's going on and you're moving in the directions you need to go, like that, we take those things for granted throughout life. I took so many things for granted, but then, you know, my dad just keeps coming back to me, like in my mind. Like I want to get as well as I can and I want to be there with him.
See yourself well, and so it shall be.
Yeah. Thank you guys.
Hey, Gino. I started reading a book that you mentioned, and I know you mentioned that you're not reading as much these days, and there may be less need for that, which I can appreciate for sure. I'm not quite there yet. There was a book you mentioned by Dr. Jensen, I think, about bowel something or other. And I got really into that and noticed that there are, I mean, he talks a lot about cleaning the colon and et cetera, but his protocol obviously has some major differences in like talking about like flax tea and various things like cottage cheese and stuff like. Had you experimented with those different things for a while? Did you kind of move through that as part of the process and then come kind of away from it as you did? Or
I was
how
gonna
did you?
ask that too about like raw dairy people talk about and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, the seed stuff, the flax, chia, I went through all that. The dairy, the cottage cheese stuff, no, I stayed away from dairy after letting it go many years ago. It's yeah, there's people doing raw milks and so on and so forth. I think we've passed that era a while ago. There's no reason to use the animal kingdom for our needs. And we will come to a point where we won't even have to use the plant kingdom. But for now, we're still in a transition period. And with this understanding, you know, going with the seeds, stuff like that, they're very heavy because all seeds contain fats, the oils, the proteins, and they're very obstructive in the physical, but also we're dealing with the soul entity, which is in every single seed, to create the life that it is to be, to carry on its species. So there's a lot going on in that. I went through a lot of different types of diets and protocols and different fasts and so on and so forth. And the basic understanding, every time we go out to try and find something to add, we spiral out to more confusion. When we surrender and focus on subtraction, we find the balance comes, it starts restoring itself very quickly. It's that simple. Nothing we're using is for the purposes of nutrition or anything like that. It's all focused on helping the body move energy and eliminate. And that's everything we use in MFS. That's all we use it for. The juice, not for calories, not for any of that stuff. It's a very good, very powerful solvent, like a liquid Drano. It goes in and starts breaking things down and washing things out in the physical, mental, and emotional. And that's the only thing that we focus on, always, subtraction. So Dr. Jensen, you know, his whole thing was washing the colon, right? We're full of caca. We need to wash it out. So they use different things for that time, that era, to help people move things out. And they did to some successes. But, you know, we're in a way more toxic era right now than that time there. And it is more challenging for us to detox the bodies that we've created. So we have the tools to be able to do the job. We've seen it over and over and over. It works. Keep it simple. And the key is to be able to have a system where you can focus on it on a day-to-day basis and live it, because inventing anything is not going to help anybody in the long run. It's challenging for people to change their whole lifestyle. It's very, very, very challenging. Family, friends, coworkers, the way, you know, we've all been brought up, and letting go of you know, things that I've been brought through generations, you know, with foods and so on and so forth. It's a lot for people to give up. It's not simple, but we know it works. You know, let it go, let the body do the work, and find a way to you know, one of the levels, find the level that you're going to be able to maintain over and over and over again, week after week after week, you know, shifting it a little bit up, a little bit down here and there, and continue focusing on that. If you remove fasting from a lifestyle, watch what happens. We know what happens. Fasting, we maintain it in the lifestyle, we know what happens. So that's what we focus on, Ben. And the things that we use have been have came to be over a long period of time of many different things that I've used. I didn't just try things for short periods. When I believed in something, I would really put a lot of focus and energy and stay with it for a while, you know, years. Like the high fat raw vegan diet I did, you know, for almost 3 years. Almost killed me, but I was so brainwashed by the science. I kept doing it and kept doing it and kept doing it, and my body was falling apart, and I was blinded by it because I put myself in that stimulated, numb state. And finally, I got a big slap from the universe saying, "What the hell are you doing? You gotta stop doing this nonsense. Make the change." So, you know, we don't have all the answers, but, you know, what we're doing here works very, very well. We've seen the most challenging situations that people have had and pull themselves out of that, and the body went back to balance, right? Is it completely solved for all these people? Absolutely not. It's a lifetime journey. We continuously work on it and continuously focusing on it as a lifestyle, and that's all we can do. And that's all we can do. So we're here supporting each other and allow this these changes to take place by embracing them and surrendering to the soul. The physical aspects of anything is not that important once we have that understanding that it all comes from the fields, and the fields are controlled by the souls. So keep it simple. Keep it simple. But
I've heard people say they feel more energy during a dry fast than they do when they're eating. I've actually been experiencing a lot of low energy days during my dry fasts. Is that just, should I kind of attribute that to just being toxic and I need to do more of that and dry fast more?
You will see over time your dry fast will become more pleasurable. And if you maintain it in a schedule and maintain clean eating, if you start moving towards more obstructive foods, the dry fasts will never get easier. They're always going to be challenging.
Yeah.
So yeah, even though when you're far along a few years, there's always going to be a day here or there that it's a little more rough on the dry fasting, but overall they become more pleasurable, and you look forward to those times because the aspects of the fields of the energy is in a whole different category than when you're eating. Eating, as soon as you eat, you stop the process of elimination immediately. So when you're in a fasting state, liquids and then the dry, which is more aggressive, you're putting that body into elimination mode. And the more you feel off or whatever, the more you need fasting in your lifestyle. That's the way I see things.
Two things, in my opinion. One is the more toxic our bodies are, the more difficult it is to fast. Liquid and of course dry is even harder. We would feel it more because the detox is deeper. And the second thing is the belief system. So as you practice, you will your faith becomes stronger, and you start believing that this is actually less is actually more. Even less liquid. So the dry fasting is more energy. Gives you more energy than the liquid or the food. I'm sure you feel that with the liquid. You have more energy than when you're eating. But it takes time with the dry because the dry is deeper, right? Yeah, and also the belief system, because we're programmed, right? So two things: it's the physical, but also our belief system, and that comes with practice. You just have to keep going and keep practicing and stay with your schedule as much as you can. The dry fasting and the liquid as well, and the food.
What happens when we eat a heavy meal? Ooh, when we're asleep. So
Yeah.
why does it happen when we're dry fasting? Because of the process. The body's in elimination mode, puts things back into circulation. The body's trying to dump. So this is why it's very important how we're doing MFS. We're washing, we're squeezing, we're washing, we're squeezing over and over and over and over. That's the cycle. The dry and the liquids.
Yeah.
Keep the energy flowing through. And then you come to a point where the dry fast. Wow. Okay. Awesome. That was
it's the best feeling. Really.
It was amazing.
I don't think you can feel any better, but it takes time, and practice, and you want to be consistent with it.
When you've dry fasted for extended amounts of time, does it get to a point, say, I don't know, 7 days? I know, Gino, you went, 12 days or more or something? Like, at that point, did you get to feeling bad at finally, or were you just like strong as can be, and then you just decided, okay, now it's time to break it? How did you know when to break your fast as they got longer and longer?
It goes down to us going through the experiences over and over and building your faith and trust. That's all it really is. Because when you go on long dries, especially, you're gonna have days where you're gonna feel like I had a few days in the long dries. I've done 12s, 13s. I've done lots up into those ranges. When you get up in the higher dry fasting days, you're gonna have days that you're gonna feel, very weak, like
dizzy.
Yeah, there was days where I would wake up and absolutely no energy, zero. But what did I do? I didn't stay in bed. I followed what the protocol is saying. Get up, force yourself, a little bit of a push, move yourself, and start doing the yoga, and then bang, the energy turned on. Out riding my bike. So that's in fasting states, liquid or dry. If dry, it happens quicker. You'll have shifts from going to feeling amazing to horrible, from feeling horrible to amazing very quickly. You know, to shift like that. So we use the tools to pull us through. And when we're on liquids, enemas, 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 and you snap out of it. Like sometimes, if for people who've washing their colons, you get a really good flush, and bang, the energy just turns on. It's like you did a hit of cocaine or something, you know.
You mentioned then releasing a worm, right? This can be a big thing that had to come out, you know, and it's very toxic, so you feel horrific until it comes out.
Yeah. It's interesting. I'm sorry. Yeah.
Just day by day.
Yeah. It's interesting you say you get a lot of energy after a release like that, because I think one of the things that got me to a point where I was really searching for something for my health was I couldn't sleep for such a long time. My biggest health issue was not sleeping. And it started probably 10 years ago, where when it first happened, I talked to a good friend and he recommended I go get medication for it. So I did. And I started getting addicted to sleeping pills and this other stuff, like anti-anxiety stuff. And of course, years and years of that. And then coming off of it was even worse than being hooked on it, because I stopped being able to sleep even with that. And then coming off of it, I couldn't sleep again. So my biggest issue, even nowadays, it's like I'm starting to clear all that stuff out. And my whole search for Master Fast came about by looking for ways to detox. And as I detox, even with Master Fast, I go through nights sometimes where I just don't sleep. And it's interesting too, because that's my biggest issue. When I have a really good release, and I just hit the bed and I go to sleep. And it's almost like that's what's needed most for me, is just that ability to go down. Now, I hope that doesn't last, because I would like to just feel energetic with that and have a good full night's sleep, you know, from the beginning. But just curious to see what you say about that.
Now that you've shared that, the sleeping pills, a lot of them are psychiatric. And benzo family, which is the worst of the worst.
That's the one, yeah.
Yeah. So you were on those for years. Your body's got to detox all that stuff out, and that's what's happening, and that's why you have what you're experiencing. What you're experiencing. So you have to be patient and just continue, and you will work that stuff out of you. It will come out if you maintain it and go over and over. You got to also remember, all weaknesses will come to the surface during a fast. So you're experiencing the challenges you had before of not sleeping,
especially the dry.
But when you're in a fasting lifestyle, specifically fasting, and these things are coming up, embrace it. Yeah, it's not going to be pleasant. How long is it going to last? I don't have the answer for you. Is it going to be weeks, months, or years? I don't know. But what I can assure you, if you're continuously in the fasting lifestyle, your body's going to correct it, and you're going to be able to sleep beautifully and peacefully. When I never had problems sleeping up until I started doing the high-fat, raw vegan lifestyle. I can't remember what it was when I got into, maybe it was the second year I started having problems sleeping. I never had problems sleeping. And it wasn't fun. I never went to drugs and everything, but I had problems. Like before, close your eyes, gone. And even now, I sleep most of the time, 99% of the time, very easily. But to get my body restored back so I can sleep again after that stunt, it took a while. It took me over a year. It was a year and a half, maybe even close to 2 years before my sleep got restored again. And that's without me going through taking any drugs or anything. But I'm just showing you that, you know, a high-fat diet is very obstructive. Obstructions cause imbalances. Remove the obstructions as balances is restored. Medication is very obstructive. So what do you got to do? You got to remove the obstructions, and balance will be restored. But how long is it going to take? I don't know. Like I said, it could be a year, it could be 2 years, it could be weeks, and your body can purge it all of a sudden. What was the longest MFS you've done?
20 days.
20 days?
Yeah, I'm sure when you are consistent with the lifestyle, you know, fasting and clean eating, and fasting and clean eating, maintaining your dry, of course, right? A whole massive fast lifestyle. I am sure it, you know, within, I would say, a few months, you start feeling way better already, and then it just gets better and better over time.
Yeah, you can, for, you know, you have the challenging nights, use acupressure points. We share the charts. There's a good website for sleeping.
On the
There's
website.
points for that you can use. Herbs, there's herbs that help you relax. Breath work, hot and cold shower.
That's something he's working with your mom on, huh? The sleeping? Because she was on sleeping. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, but she's not fasting.
Yeah. But he's giving her all kinds of herbs and to relax her.
You know, cannabis is very powerful for, you know, knock you out. But some people can handle it, some people can. But there's many things you can do for when you have challenging nights to help you sleep.
But you wouldn't recommend smoking it. It would just be like tincture.
Yeah, tincture, yeah.
One more quick question. Like, there are days where I want to eat so bad, and I just give in, of course, like I think a lot of people do. But other days I always want to ask this question, and I never do. But is it okay to eat pudding more than once in a day? Like, to just fill my stomach a little bit, or is that something you wouldn't want to stay away from?
That question's been asked many times. Yeah, if it's going to help you, break it up to twice a day. You know, the reason
when you're eating.
When you're eating?
Yeah, when you're eating, right?
When you're fasting.
I mean, when I'm not eating, but even when I'm eating, it's a good thing to hear about too.
The reason we have it for once a day is because putting the pudding through the digestive tract system, it takes a little bit of energy, right? So, you know, doing it once a day versus twice a day, you know, you get it over with once a day, and you let that system rest a little more. But if you can do it twice a day and it will help you, do it twice a day. Just cut it in half and break it and do it twice a day. I've done it twice a day, 2 times here and there, but whatever. Make the system work for you.
Yeah.
The system is there, and there's infinite ways for it that it can work for you. You know, there's no really set things. Just as long as you're doing all parts of the protocol, you know, you're good to go. And you know, the washing's very important. Having enough herbal support's very important. Drinking enough is very important on the wet days and your wet windows. Everything's very important. So, you know, try if there's really those nights, you know, get into meditation and do that, because if you continuously practice meditation, the body requires rest. It doesn't require sleep. There's people who master themselves in meditation, and they basically don't need sleep or very, very little sleep because they've mastered meditation.
I have to say one thing that's been amazing about this Master Fast experience so far. I mean, I have been playing with it. I shouldn't say I've been using it completely on protocol for this long, but I started playing with it last October 2019, and I've been moving in and out of it, but have been pretty steady for the last, say, 4 months, with occasional lapses, of course, but dreaming again. Like when I was taking those medications, I don't remember having a single dream ever in something 8 years of on and off of that stuff. And now I wake up in the middle of the night sometimes and just think, wow, that was a full dream. And I remember the whole thing, and it's just been great. So I can already feel at least that's coming back.
Don't, like if you start getting some, I don't know if you had any side effects from those things when you were taking them, but that may come up as well. And don't be in fear state. Use the tools, pull you through, extra washing, you know, and maybe some extra herbal support, so on and so forth. You know, continue.
Yeah, thank you.
Brittany, one more thing. We'll do a little meditation and spin it off. What do you got to do?
Yeah. the main thing I struggle with the most when I'm like moving into everything is like what I said before, it is like, it's like the environment. It's like, it's very aggressive. Like they're bringing like a child along the way, kind of living a very more obstructive lifestyle, focusing on like sometimes building a business, but like with the TV, I mean, it's like the volume's all the way up. And then like when there's food or like the fridge opening, it's like slamming, and just and like, I don't want to seem like it comes from my ego when I say this, but there's like a lot of like egos like flying around and just like built up fears that just come out as like ego projections. And it's like,
Okay, well, it was a few guys are living with you.
one girl and like two guys.
Okay, well, whenever you hear them make noise and everything, send them plaff instead of getting frustrated.
Yeah.
Or find a new environment.
That's what I was thinking. Like I wondered, because like when I'm working on this and trying to just be with my body and like start to allow it to release and everything like that, and just like really connect with it, I feel like that grace, that silence, or that presence is something that I need right now just for myself. And so that's what I'm trying to figure out.
Yeah.
The less instructed I was, like it's much easier for me to handle. But if I'm like doing an enema or washing my colon, it's when things are like doing it's like it's harder for me, if that makes sense.
Well, yeah, if you are putting stress in the body because of what's going on in your environment, then you're going to close down and you're not going to release. Yeah. But if you reprogram yourself to have the noises empower you, turn them into plaff and send it back.
Yeah, good idea. That's going to help.
Otherwise,
Okay.
you're gonna just tense up and nothing's going to move.
Thank you.
So
Just Ben, and another thing, and even Brittany, with when you with the whole system, as we all know the protocol, but always remember what heals you and what gives all of what makes everything better is actually nature. And and that's what I do. I just embrace nature's source, where we come from, and make that as my tent over me, and have that as a dome that I really trust, and just work within. And if you surrender to that, and just surrender to that, the system will always work for you. But the actual, how should I say, strength or release, and I felt that in 2018 when I had in February and March, after a longer, I think it was 30 days or so, it was so, when I had a roll of and a wave of emotional releases that came over me. And from that moment on, I knew that I need to get into that realm of surrender, or surrendering that realm, and just put yourself, my mind or my spirit, put that into that realm, connect to that surrender, that level of surrender. It's hard to describe, because you can only sort of, how should I say, find it when you not look for it, but when you know, as we know, trust the system, but the system is the shoehorn to where we come from, where we have to be connected to. And once you see that, and once you feel that connection, that strength that the connection has to you, everything else will be easier for you. And as we know, change the paradigm. Just let all the other stuff go. Like just even like Gino explained about the fields, about all that, that has to start to make sense. And once that starts to make sense, everything else will fall in place. And also, like I said many times, use nature as the yardstick, as your measure stick against everything else, not somebody else's opinion. Your opinion is what you got to get going, because it's your change you have to be, not somebody else's. Sometimes it helps to hear, of course, and exchange, of course, but at the end, strengthen. That's what I do. I strengthen myself up with my own opinion, and then I find that's where relief and improvement happens. bit by bit, and don't be afraid of it. See, people then afraid to go into that real more, and that's a lot of times when the awakening comes, because the body physically starts to let go of things, and then the emotional releases come, and then people are not capable of dealing with them, and then they distance themselves again from it. But dive into it, find that source connection where everything happens, and that's where you got to find surrender and find connection to it. And that's hard to explain, and
it's like the words. And I guess like the best example like I can feel is like there's so many, but from like the really empty and like pure times, but like now it's like in times where I had like a really good release, and then like I'd go to sleep that night and I'd wake up like exhausted and beat down the next morning, and I was so happy. I was like, but I released, and I was just walking through and I was feeling all this pain, and I was like, but this feels so good because I just know that it's right. And then I would just keep moving forward, and it's like it's just when things start to balance, and you know that everything is happening for the reason that it's happening, and you're connected to that, you know.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Yeah, it happens because it has to happen. It just happens, and that's when you surrender to that, and when you can get that feeling and work with that. And of course, then you get down, you know, the other way around too, where you can't explain, but don't worry about it. Just let it happen, because at the end, it's just what has to happen, and you just have to go through. And then the periods of complete knowingness, so to speak, will increase and will lengthen, because you know you're on the right track. And that in itself then is a positive reinforcement, a positive connection that you want. That's what happens. Then you're in the right realm of knowingness, and that then is it's sort of that where you have a vicious circle, you can have a positive circle, you know, like in that's what you got to get yourself into. Get away from vicious circles that drag you down, and move yourself into a good circle, you know, a positive one. That's really, you know, but once you
That's true. It's true, because I've noticed even just accepting if I don't sleep, it's part of what's just happening with my body healing itself. It's part of what's the natural course of events that I need to go through. And yeah, you're right. It's true. And instead of being fearful of, oh, I didn't sleep tonight, so I'm having no energy, it's just more like accepting it and moving on from it, and just allowing that to kind of be there, but not take over my entire being. So yeah.
See, it happens to me still, waking up at 3 o'clock. I mean, I remember when a lot of physical releases came, I wake up in the middle of the night and I can see everything crystal clear, and I don't want to go back to sleep because it feels so good. But then there's the other nights where you wake up at 3 o'clock and you're just fearful of everything. Mm-hmm. And the only way that I surrender it is just go very, very deep, and just don't let it come in. I mean, or no, that's not let it come in. Let it go through you. You know what I mean? Like, I'll think through it. And the more I do that, the more I think that through, the less it occupies me. And eventually I don't know, sometimes it takes 15, 20, 30 times I have to think it through. And all of a sudden, bang, I'm asleep again. Because it's gone through. Where you keep regurgitating on it, and you have that fearfulness. No, you know, sometimes I sweat and I think, just settle down, and you just let it happen. And then you go through and through. And that's sometimes, I don't know, I can't put a time on it, and then bang, I'm back asleep. And then in the morning, I can't sometimes even remember that it actually happened. But that's just what it is. It's just hard to explain. It's hard to, there's no recipe for it. I can't say, look, do this, do this, do this, do this. It's just something that everybody has to go through and find that way himself, but surrender to it, and let it happen. Because the more you let it happen, that's all you
guys, right back. I just have to get my charger. Die.
Sure. Yeah. So that's sort of something that I thought I've heard that so many times, as I said, from other members, or when you read and all this, that people struggle with that, that mirror of truth. But it's part of it, and it's just because of balance. See, the body will balance and has to balance out. And I don't even think that's one of the reasons that a lot of people go, because they can't balance out and they just don't want to let it. I don't know, they're either fearful or they can't digest the feeling that comes with it. They have all sorts of, like with Brittany, like she's so fearful of that release, and she's, this water gets stuck in me, but I think there's other things stuck that have to be released first, and then everything falls in place. But it's a process. There's no recipe. There's nothing you can say, you have to this and after that. And as I said, the more you spin in that circle, the less it's going to happen. Sometimes, as I said, if you cut yourself, the more you put dirt into the wound, and you think you're healing it, the less it will actually happen, instead of just move away from it. Anyway, that's just that cycle, that you have to, and it's got to point to source. Simple as that. To that magic thing that made us. Remember, the power and intelligence that made us is the power and intelligence that will heal us, and nothing else. Nothing else. It's that power and intelligence. And how can we not trust that power and intelligence? The more you accept that, the more you live with that, the more you benefit from it, the more it comes to you. It's that positive reinforcement that spins, and then at the end you don't worry about all this. You don't have to worry about all of this. Yeah.
Hi, Peter.
How are you?
Good. I was.
How are you going, Tommy?
Doing good. I was, listening to what you were saying. I wanted to kind of touch on what you were saying about kind of going into a different realm, and that really helps to alleviate where the mind likes to get stuck on things, and you can separate yourself from a lot of the perceptions that you accumulate over time, whether it be it's just emotions. But I like what you were saying about like thinking things through and then just letting it go. I was doing that. One of the tools that I was using for letting go of a lot of those things that like to occupy your mind. One was the breath work, which was amazing. The Boutenko breathing, I think they call it. I don't even have a name for it anymore. Because once you do the practice long enough, you just know what to do, and it feels right. Also was meditation. And I challenged myself to meditate for 2 hours, and I started doing that as a regular practice. And it put my mind in a completely different place. And after you experience that, it's just, or master fast in general, after you experience some of the things, when you are consistent, when you are doing all the parts of the protocol, and people have, I've dropped some weight, and people are asking me what I'm doing differently, and I don't tell them a whole lot because I know it's going to scare them off. But one of the main things that they want to know, what are you doing? How do you do this? Do you that? And I tell them, I said, listen, I have a health protocol that I follow, and it's a practice that only works if I remain consistent. And they ask me, well, what about this? What about that? And I say, listen, what I'm doing, I can't recommend to anybody. They can do some research, they can look into it. But one of the things, the reason why I tell people I don't recommend it is because after having experienced it, there's no going back for me. There's just, because it's, it's almost like I've stepped into a different reality, and there's no going back. And I fell hard off of the protocol, and but as a result, I still remember it. And, you know, I consumed some foods that were pretty obstructive, but they didn't, you know, they didn't have the same satisfaction that I thought they had before, you know? And because it's just, I know something completely different, and nothing is going to satisfy except for continuing to move forward, continuing to remain consistent, continuing to use the tools and to keep washing. And, you know, the more I experience washing, the more I experience, you know, dry fasting and using the tools and continuing to eliminate. And Ben, I hear what you said about getting rid of just a major parasite. It's like, it felt like an achievement, you know? But after, you know, but without, you know, remaining consistent, I know that, you know, literally nothing, there's nothing else that compares to this. And it's the clarity is, it's addictive. It's amazing where, you know, because one of the main things I experienced through the meditation was my thoughts felt, and the only way I could describe it is my thoughts felt sticky. Like I couldn't, like I was trying to allow them to just pass through, but they would just, you know, stay kind of hang in my mind. And, you know, it just focused on my breathing and, you know, you know, this kind of like the mindfulness or whatever. But, you know, after a while, it's just, you know, the emotions are really what I'm trying to eliminate. Master Fast is just a tool for, you know, just allowing those emotions to release, because that's where a lot of these problems are originating from, or what I think are problems. But I really like what you said about kind of stepping into a different realm, because even after, you know, I started to come back from some of the obstructive foods that I consumed, I had something to look forward to, because, you know, once you taste it, there's nothing else like it. And, you know, that has to be sourced, like you were saying. It has to be. So I appreciate everybody, and I'm looking forward to the meditation. So that's all. Hi, Gino. Hi, Rana.
Hey.
Hi, Steve.
You're muted.
Am I muted?
Yeah, I mean, it's good to hear.
Oh, not Tommy, Steve. Okay.
It's good to hear, Tommy, because see, one thing that I had, and I've brought it a few times, just a tool for myself is the pattern how something comes to you. And that's, everything starts with a thought. The thought enters you. Where does the thought come from? It's an energy field that enters you from a realm, from whatever. When you have an inspiration, that's a thought that starts with you, okay? So there's a field that comes in, and that thought generates an emotion inside yourself. So when you wake up at 3 o'clock in the morning and you have total clarity, that then determines what emotions that you feel. You know, either, as we said, I have experienced good emotions and I have experienced bad emotions, but it's both, it's the same. And when you have then the emotion, then that I try to turn into a word, meaning I want to know, what am I going through here? So then, and then when I know that if it's for me beneficial, or as I said, everything is beneficial, even the bad emotions are good for you, because they have to go. But then from the word, I try to make that then an action, you know, so I'll let it go out of me. So from a thought, it turns into an emotion, the emotion turns into a word, the word turns into an action. And when you have the action, then make that become a habit. Because only habits, as we know in this lifestyle, will change you. It's not the thought, it's not the emotion, it's not the word, it's not the action, it's actually the habit that you gain out of it. And that's why everything, when it is repetitive, as it is, and it's the same releasing emotions. It's the repetitiveness. And if you have then a tool, as you said, with meditation, with connecting into nature, all sorts of things, that habit, once you gain that the action that helps you make that become a habit, and then you can run through that all the time. But you got to determine your thought. What emotion does it create? What word does it create? How do I create the word? How do I create the action? And then how can I turn it into a habit? Because that habit is what changes you, is what makes you a different person. And as you said, falling off because I've lost it. So turn it back into it. Go back to the same word, the same action, and make it become a habit. See, it's just something that works for me very easily that way, because it's repetitive and I think through and through and through, and it helps me. But it's just, again, just a person, because look, we all, within all the tools that we have, you still have your own personal way of dealing with this or dealing with that. You need that. You need that individuality. Like I say, use nature and source as a yardstick. If things that you hear don't point back to nature, it's a man-made fantasy. Is it beneficial to you? No, at the very end, it isn't. It's only when nature, when it points back to nature, that's when it will be beneficial and should be a habit that we have and should have, because then you cannot go wrong. Think about how many things have you been told that eventually pointed out wrong? Have you ever followed nature, and have you ever been let down by nature? No, you cannot. You can be let down by many, many opinions of people, but you can never be let down by nature. Nature will never, that power of intelligence will never let you go, because that's the law. That's how everything revolves. So the more you not obey, evolve into that. How can you go wrong? You can't. Completely impossible being wrong with nature. There is no such thing, because it's that surrender, it's that connection. And then you will actually see, remember I said it many times too, is then once you have that feeling and you have that awareness and you have that completely surrender to it, it's then hard to reconciliate with what is surrounding you, the environment that has given you the paradigm that you came from. Very hard, because you say, fuck, I can't leave that. I may have to leave that. So that's just another thing that I've really experienced. And that's how I struggle with 100%. The surrender to nature, to source, and the reconciliation to what is surrounding us. You know, that's all it is.
Yeah.
Does that make sense, Tommy?
No, it does. It does. I'm gonna have to ruminate on that one for a while. Nature has never let me down. That's powerful.
Yeah. Never will. Never ever will. It might throw. Sometimes it can be hard, but you will always understand. You will always understand. And eventually you see that it's not a letdown, it's just a process that makes you go through, either physically or emotionally. But that's what it is. And the more you work with inside yourself on that, the better off you are. As simple as that.
Thank you.
No, but my pleasure.
All right, we'll move into a meditation for those who want to stick around. If anybody wants to leave, have a wonderful day, whatever.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
All right, just get comfortable on your chair, lying down, whatever you like. Feet flat on the floor. Allow the body to fully relax. Let's focus on the breath. Low volume breaths through the nose. Drive the energy deep into the groin area. Keep the tongue on the roof of the mouth or roll it back and suck on it. Keep it in that position. As we focus on the breath, the body's going into more and more relaxation. Feeling heavier and heavier. Until we get to the point where we don't even feel the body anymore because it's so relaxed. Bring your attention to the area below the belly button and imagine a mini tornado spinning counterclockwise with the tip on the energetic part of the body in that area. If the mind wanders, just bring it back. Keep focusing on the mini tornado in the area below the belly button. Now let's move the focus down to the genital area. Mini tornado's tip is touching the genital area and it's spinning faster and faster. As the implosion is restoring balance in that area. Seeing all the beautiful colors being created by a mini tornado. Now let's move the focus to the tailbone, tip of the tailbone. The tornado spinning counterclockwise faster and faster, creating beautiful colors and restoring balance to that area. tailbone faster and faster. The breath, driving it deep down into the groin area. Should feel the mouth starting to fill up with moisture as you keep the tongue to the roof of the mouth or rolled back and sucking on it. And we move the focus to up the spine between the two kidneys, the king and queen with their crowns. The two little miraculous organs. Let's thank them for the work they do. As the tornado spins faster and faster, creating balance in that area. Kidneys becoming more and more relaxed and opening up to allow all the debris to be dumped. Physical, mental, and emotional. As the tornado spinning faster and faster on the spine between the kidneys. And we move the focus up to between the shoulder blades and into mini tornadoes, touching the spine between the shoulder blades, spinning faster and faster, producing beautiful, wonderful colors of light. Restoring balance in that area. It's an area where a lot of us will hold tension. Allow that tension to melt away as the mini tornado is restoring balance in that area. If the mind wanders, bring it back. Keep the focus on the mini tornado spinning faster and faster. as we shift the focus up the spine to where the spine meets the skull, in the neck area. Tip of the tornadoes touching the base of the skull, spinning faster and faster, producing beautiful, brilliant colors, restoring balance in that area. Cerebellum. It's an area where a lot of us have lots of obstructions, especially if you are experiencing any dizziness, nausea. This is the area where, with the help of the spinning tornado, it's restoring balance. It's spinning faster and faster. Keep the focus at the base of the skull. Tornado spinning faster and faster, restoring balance. Now we shift the focus up to the top of the head, center of the skull, 1,000-point junction. Tornado spinning faster and faster. Restoring balance in that area. Tornado spinning faster and faster, creating balance in the area. The 1,000-point junction on the top of the middle of the head. Continue keeping your tongue in position, focusing on the breath, low volume, driving the energy deep into the body. as we move the focus to the third eye, the forehead. Tornado spinning faster and faster, removing all obstructions, transmuting the third eye back to the state of light. You see all the beautiful colors tornadoes creating very clearly. Getting brighter and brighter. Tornado spinning faster and faster. The third eye. As we shift the focus down to the throat area, where the thyroid is. Tornado spinning faster and faster, restoring balance in that area. Creating beautiful, brilliant colors. Thyroid, another amazing organ with many functions in the physical, mental, emotional bodies. As we shift the focus down to the heart, which is slightly off center to the left. Tip of the tornadoes touching the heart energetically. Strongest field strength in the physical body comes from the heart. And tornadoes spinning faster and faster, restoring balance to that area. As the heart field balance is being restored, we send a plaf to all the inhabitants of Mother Earth, all the people, the whole animal kingdom, on the land and the oceans and the rivers and streams and lakes, in the ground, in the air. Plaf flows freely to restore balance and bring humanity into peace, balance, and correct conduct era. It's here now for us to enjoy. The time is now. The energies are all present. Tornado spinning faster and faster as we continue to send up life through the strongest field of the heart. As balance is restored, we move the focus down to the solar plexus. The tornado spinning faster and faster, producing beautiful, brilliant colors. Solar plexus, our gut feeling, many, many nerve endings, clusters. Nerves are nano-coated superconductor highway where the fields flow supersonic, many times the speed of light speed, instantaneous, to keep the physical body functioning. As balance is restored, now focus on the breath. And the inhale from the bottom of the tailbone. As you inhale, drive the breath up the spine to the top of the head. On the exhale, drive the energy from the top of the head down the front of the body, back down to the groin, back to the tailbone. And just keep repeating that. On the inhale, up. Exhale, down. So we're just circling the torso and the head. Inhale up. Exhale, down. Inhale up. Exhale, down. Do a few more on your own. As balance is restored in the whole physical, mental, and emotional body. As we get ready to open our eyes, We send platform more time around the whole globe. And we're back. Awesome journey into the realms.
Best place to be.
All right. We will see
Thanks,
you.
Gino. Thanks, Rana.
Thank you.
Long week, planted, finally finished. Oh,
You can go to bed now, Steve.
I've got 70 tomato plants in my backyard.
Wow. That's a lot of work.
It's a lot of work. That's home. I got, what do I got? I don't know what I got there. 400 plants in my backyard.
Wow.
I went crazy.
Awesome.
You got a lot to share then.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. All that's all I do it for.
All right, guys.
Thank you, guys.
Good night.
All right.
Till next
Have a
time.
good weekend.
You too. Bye.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.